I saw Pam, Johnny's wife, who has some memory problems.
Yep.
We had to remind her why she was there. And then I walked out among the people.
The Call to Freedom is coming up next, live after the news on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
This is the Liberty Beat, your daily source for liberty news and activist updates. Produced in partnership with SNLS News and listeners like you. Online at libertybeat.news and snls.news. I'm Mick Murrow, reporting for the weekend edition of the Liberty Beat. Gold is trading around $1,279, silver at $14.96, and Bitcoin is trading around $5,092. Today's prices are brought to you by InnoScale. Take off with Managed Cloud. Looking for a safe, secure way to store your important files online? Let InnoScale handle it for you. Their high-availability cloud servers are the perfect solution for clients needing one or more secure, scalable servers with built-in hardware failover protection. For details, see them online at innoscale.net. In the news, a disturbing report released by the United Nations this week details how in the first part of 2019, U.S. forces and their allies killed more civilians than the Taliban and other terrorist groups. The Free Thought Project, citing the most recent UN data, reports that Afghan officials were killed in greater numbers by NATO and pro-government security forces in the first 3 months of 2019 than by armed militants. Half of those slaughtered by Allied troops were women and children. While the number of overall civilians killed slightly decreased, according to the report, it's the first time since the invasion after 9/11 that the U.S. and its allies have slaughtered more civilians than the terrorist groups they are ostensibly fighting. In the first quarter of 2019, pro-government forces were responsible for the deaths of 305 civilians, while insurgents killed 227. The numbers are apparently so disturbing, the UN officials are now calling for an investigation into the killings. The Liberty Beat is sponsored in part by Brave Botanicals, high-quality kratom and CBD at reasonable prices, with excellent customer service. Brave Botanicals is activist-owned and mission-driven, fighting for your right to consume plant-based medicine and natural remedies. Find out more at mybravebotanicals.com. And right now, Liberty Beat listeners can save 10% by using promo code SNLS at checkout. This is the latest edition of the Liberty Beat. Find us online at libertybeat.news and snls.news. Your news now continues. In a decision held as a landmark victory for the First Amendment, a federal judge Thursday struck down a Texas law requiring government contractors to sign a pledge vowing not to participate in the pro-Palestinian boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement. It's a complete victory of the First Amendment against Texas' attempts to suppress speech in support of Palestine. That's according to Qadir Abbas, senior litigation attorney with Council on American Islamic Relations, one of the organizations that sued Texas over the anti-BDS law. The anti-media reports that CARE filed its suit on behalf of Bahia Amawi, a Texas speech pathologist who lost her job at an elementary school after refusing to sign a pro-Israel pledge required by the state's law. In his 56-page opinion, Judge Robert Pittman of the Western District of Texas ruled the state's law violated the First Amendment by threatening to suppress unpopular ideas and to manipulate the public debate through coercion. This week, the president of Sri Lanka asked two of the country's top national security officials to resign amid accusations that terror groups had infiltrated the government. The Sri Lankan government has accused the country's intelligence chiefs of blatantly ignoring multiple warnings about the local ISIS-affiliated terror group for months leading up to last week's bombings. And it appears that double-agent intelligence officials could have prevented the information from being properly investigated. Reports have indicated that more high-ranking officials are expected to be fired when it's determined who is responsible for the security failure. The Mind Unleashed reports the group was reported by neighbors on multiple occasions, and there were even police officials attempting to sound the alarm about the potential danger. But the warnings were ignored. Now, in the wake of the tragic bombings, suspicion is being cast on government officials for intentionally turning a blind eye to the terror cell. Support for the Liberty Beat comes from the Conscious Resistance Network, featuring videos, news reports, and articles from a spiritual anarchist perspective. Experience the Conscious Resistance at theconsciousresistance.com. How would you like to have your business featured on the Liberty Beat? You can just send an email to libertybeat@snls.news for details. This is the Liberty Beat, produced in partnership with SNLS News and listeners like you. The Liberty Beat is online at libertybeat.news and snls.news. I'm Mick Murrow, reporting for the Liberty Beat, reminding you, spread liberty with a smile.
It was on this day in 1982 that the first roller skating while carrying a boombox member of Congress was elected when James Sugar Boots Franklin narrowly won New York's 8th congressional seat. Franklin's victory was a watershed moment at the time, signaling that America's burgeoning population of boombox-carrying roller skaters had finally gained mainstream acceptance.
We prove Congress isn't just for suits and crew cuts. Say hello to the slickest legislator on 8 wheels, James Sugar Boots Franklin.
Franklin was an unlikely pioneer, a street-smart skater who admitted to being more concerned with impressing honeys with his silky smooth moves than with politics. Franklin began organizing boombox-carrying roller skaters, advocating for basic rights like roller skate-accessible ramps in government buildings and protected street lanes where they could lay down cones for some sweet slaloming.
Just because we like to roll it out and have a smooth, fluid style that cannot be denied doesn't mean we aren't Americans. Yeah, that's right.
This is the Onion News Network.
Welcome back. This is the Call to Freedom broadcast, as always, from the Liberty Radio studio here in Keene, New Hampshire. I'm your host, as always, Arya DeMezzo of the anarchistgmail.com. I'm having an issue on my headset. I don't know what's going on. It's not that, though. But anyway, as always, I'm your host, Arya DeMezzo of the anarchistgmail.com. Joined in the studio, as always, by
Michael Hampton from bitcoinhistory.com.
And
you sound fine.
It wasn't coming through my headset, which was really distracting. So I had news pulled up about the NRA and the UN Small Arms Treaty and all this other stuff, then got into an argument out here on the porch with Rich Paul, who was doing some fear-mongering about trans people, peddling that old narrative that, oh, well, if we let trans women into women's prison, then they're just going to rape all the inmates.
I only heard like 3 seconds of this argument, but didn't he say that that had already happened?
There is one example of that happening. One example of that happening.
Okay, one.
Versus the thousands of rapes of trans women ongoing in male prisons because they're not allowed into women's prisons.
Okay, so you throw the perpetrator in the hole and you're done with it.
Yeah,
Good
I mean,
day.
you treat it like any other rape, right?
Right.
But I mean, it's fear-mongering is what it is. And it's exactly the same kind of fear-mongering as you get with the bathroom thing. Oh, well, we can't let the trans women into the women's prison because they'll just rape all the women. Oh, well, we can't let them into the women's restroom because they'll rape all the little girls, right? Mm-hmm. It's that kind of fear-mongering nonsense. And it is true that we have this one example of a manipulative sociopath who had been guilty of rape in the past, who was stupidly transferred to a women's prison and continued raping there. This
no
is
surprise.
This is an issue with a rapist, a confessed rapist, being allowed where there are victims. That was a stupid call on their part. It has nothing whatsoever to do with trans people. Unfortunately, when you try to look at the transgender inmate situation, what you ultimately find is just this crap about this dude, or this, they are trans, right? Karen White, who did in fact get transferred to a women's prison so that she could rape other women. Female on female rape is pretty common in prison. I don't know what the big deal is that one of the rapists had a penis versus all of the other ones who didn't, but were still rapists. And, that was sort of what Rich said, was that, if somebody is going to victimize someone, if somebody is going to sexually assault someone, chances are it's going to be the person with the penis. That is not the case in women's prisons.
That's something I'd never heard before, because, I haven't really looked at this issue.
You haven't heard what before?
That women in prison rape other women.
You didn't know that?
No.
It's about as common as male-on-male rape in prison.
Well, I learned something new today.
I mean, because it's all about power and dominance. I mean,
Right.
And, to some extent, just the physical need for sexual pleasure.
Right. Rape is a power trip, not a sexual thing.
And that's all prisons are.
se.
They are concrete jungles where the only rule is force and violence and being able to survive on your own strength.
Yeah, pretty much.
So yeah, rape absolutely occurs in women's prisons. Probably not as frequently as it does in male prisons, but it's not unheard of. It's not uncommon by any means. So to pretend like it doesn't because this one inmate did it is silly. It's fallacious and it's fear-mongering. It's nonsense. It's that whole same argument being trotted out all over again that, oh, we can't let the trans people into the girls' room because then they'll rape everybody. Even though, I mean, that's not the way. I mean, that ultimately...
That's not how this works.
That's not even an argument against trans people. The trans people take the heat for that particular argument because of stupid people. But it's actually an argument against gay and lesbians. It's an argument against allowing gay people into prison. It's the same crap, in fact, that we covered from Ohio, where they sentenced a man to death because they thought he might enjoy prison because he's gay. It's exactly that kind of mentality. Thank God Rich isn't sitting on the jury for a trans person.
I know, right?
Let's just sentence this person to death, because if we sentence Arya to prison, she's going to go to the male prison and she's going to rape all the females. Even though I'm not a rapist and have never raped anyone, that's beside the point. That's true of most trans people. By and large, the statistics show that trans people are overwhelmingly likely to be the victims of sexual assault and not the perpetrators. That's why when this happens with Karen White, it sticks out so much, because there really aren't a lot of trans rapists out there.
Exactly. The thing that people tend to forget about news is that it's newsworthy because it's unusual.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if this was happening every day, the alt-right, or the right in general, that sort of transphobic aspect of the political arena, has a lot of ammunition against trans people already. But there's a reason that they focus on the butt-hurtedness of most trans people rather than things like this. It's because the butt-hurtedness is really, really common. There are a lot of trans people who get super butt-hurt if you ask them their pronouns or whatever. So that's very, very common. But actually being sexual assaulters, rapists, whatever you would like to use, if it was common, we would hear about it regularly from the people on the right. So that almost in and of itself is evidence that it's not common. But also, there is the studies, the research that shows that trans people are overwhelmingly likely to be the victims of sexual assault. So yeah, just a bunch of BS and fear-mongering. I've otherwise had a really good day. My replacement phone screen finally came in, so I'm looking forward to that. I'm not looking forward to actually doing the repairs, but I expect that to be relatively quick and painless because I'm good at that kind of thing. But I'm looking forward to having a phone again.
Yeah, that'll be helpful.
My backup phone stopped working completely last night. I don't know why. It won't power on.
Oops.
Yeah, it's not important. There is some cryptocurrency on it that I'll need to figure out how to get off of it while it won't power on, but it's not urgent. It's not going anywhere, certainly. So anyway, on to the actual news and things like that. Textbooks are an interesting example, in my opinion, of the power of a select group of companies to influence the minds of students, especially in regard to the civics textbooks that increasingly say paint government as a force for good, whereas when I was in school, school is the place where I learned that government was considered a necessary evil.
Yeah, same here.
But that's not the case any longer. Modern civics books and social studies books and all of that, they actually paint government as a good thing.
But that's because I went to school in the South where all the textbooks were out of date. So
that could be it too.
So they didn't have all this postmodern, post-capitalist garbage in them.
No, and there's also the issue of college textbooks, of course, which are just exorbitantly expensive, and where the professors seemingly get kickbacks from selling them, saying, oh, you need the 5th edition of this textbook. And someone asks, I bought the 3rd edition online because it was like a tenth of the cost. Can I use it? And the professor usually responds something like, no, they've changed it. They moved chapters around, deleted some, added others, so it won't work. Occasionally, they begrudgingly allow it, saying something like, fine, whatever, just borrow a copy from a classmate when there's a chapter missing. Now, when I went to college, my last few semesters, I didn't even buy college textbooks because I was taking things like economics and networking and programming, stuff that I already knew extensively.
Right.
So I never bought the economics textbook, actually, which is really funny because I passed the class with an A, right? Thank you, Hayek. But it was when the only book that I would have actually needed was the one for British Literature 4, which I bypassed by having a tablet where I just Googled the name of the poem, because that's essentially what it was a poetry class of William Blake and the Romantic period in general. So I didn't even need a textbook for that. I mean, most of the time the poems that they included were abridged anyway, versus me being able to find the full copy and actually appreciating the poem for what it was. But we're going to talk more about the textbook issue, so don't go anywhere. This is The Call to Freedom.
The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount.
Negotiation isn't just something union leaders and sports agents do. Your entire day is a series of negotiations. If you have young children, you know that. In fact, your kids can teach you a lot about negotiating with grown-ups. According to the world's greatest negotiator, Herb Cohen, author of You Can Negotiate Anything. Herb says that kids understand the process of decision-making within an organization. When one parent says no, they'll ask the other. And Cohen says children persist and persevere. And like smart negotiators of all ages, kids know that no is an opening bargaining position. With money and attention so scarce now, effective communication skills have never been more important, especially if you're a job seeker. For more tips, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
Did you know you can listen to LRN.FM via our free-to-air satellite channels? We have channels over nearly all of North America and much of Africa. All you need is an affordable receiver and a dish as small as 30 inches. There are no monthly fees. Learn more at sat.lrn.fm. Plus, if you are a broadcaster or want to be one, this is a good delivery method for our content. See our coverage maps and get details at sat.lrn.fm. That's sat.lrn.fm. sat.lrn.fm.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up at any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BIPCOT no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com.
Now that you've found the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM, you may want to help expose others to our great programs. To assist you in doing so, you'll find resources at promote.lrn.fm, including details on how to get a free bumper sticker, quarter-page flyers you can print out and distribute, banners for your website, as well as files that will allow you to make your own custom banners and graphics. Visit promote.lrn.fm and help bring new listeners to the Liberty Radio Network. That's promote.lrn.fm.
Would you like to hang out with Penn Jillette? He's keynoting Freedom Fest this year. I, for one, am thrilled. Freedom Fest is the largest liberty-oriented gathering in the world. They take a Big Ten approach with libertarians, conservatives, liberals, anarchists, and just open-minded people mingling together to hear real debates, share real solutions, and converse freely. This year's theme is the Wild West, a time of liberty and opportunity, or a time of anarchy and violence. Maybe both. Go to freedomfest.com/FTL and get your tickets now. Freedom freedomfest.com/FTL. Not convinced yet? Hey, I understand. It's a high-end event, even with coupon code FTLEB. Sure, you're likely to receive investment advice that'll make that sum seem paltry, but I have something special for you. Go to freedomfest.com/FTL and you'll get the 5 best speeches from last year for free. Call it a test drive. Do yourself a favor and go to freedomfest.com/FTL. freedomfest.com/FTL. Use coupon code FTLEB for a discount.
You're listening to the best liberty-oriented audio streamed around the clock, on the air, and online. This is the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Welcome back. This is the Call to Freedom. Of course, you're invited to give us a call at 603-283-6160. Again, that's 603-283-6160, or you can use the Discord call-in lines, which you can find at discord.lrn.fm. And we've been moving on to a discussion about textbooks, and this actually comes to us from a professor. So they really are involved in this. It's not just some random angry college student upset about having to pay so much for textbooks.
Well, textbooks are expensive. I mean, they were expensive in my day, and now they're just through the roof.
They are. They're about $300 on average, is what I found in my semesters in college where I did have to buy textbooks. And one of them was like $75, and it was literally just paper that was printed out. It didn't even come with a binder.
That's ridiculous.
It was just about 300 pages that someone had printed off, and it was $75.
Come on, I can print off 300 pages for that or less.
Yeah, I mean, you can do it at Staples for like maybe $20.
I can buy a printer for that and print it myself.
Yeah. So it's really stupid, the costs that are incurred by college students, but that's part of the problem. For the most part, it's not college students actually paying these costs. It's government through Pell Grants and things like that. So the cost of the school books, it only matters to a select group of college students. And that's a relatively small one. The rest of them essentially don't care, except that it affects how much money they're going to get back at the end of the semester. So it's not so much as the textbook market is problematic as much as it is the government is subsidizing these high prices.
Yeah, you provide a lot of free money and the prices are going to go up.
Yeah, it's exactly
that's the way it works.
It's exactly what happened with the health industry here in the United States.
Economics 101.
It broke in exactly the same way because government started subsidizing things and prices just went through the roof because the actual user was not the one paying for it. So to understand this, we have to think about the perverse nature of the textbook market. In a well-functioning market, it's the users who are the choosers. Even when they rely on expert advice, they usually have a final say over the decision of which product to purchase, including setting a ceiling on what price they're willing to pay. This is not so for textbooks. In the textbook market, the users, students, are not the choosers. Faculty choose the books for them, and in my very casual surveys of college faculty, no more than half give any consideration at all to price. We get free desk copies, so the cost doesn't affect our financial interests. And we are free to exercise our expertise in our field of study and choose this particular textbook written by another expert, rather than that other one written by yet another expert. And a lot of these college professors use their own books.
Oh, yeah.
Which I think is kind of arrogant, but hey, whatever, man. It's your class. You're the expert. In some cases, it really doesn't make very much difference. The author has taught American government for nearly 20 years, and with very few exceptions, textbooks on American government tend to be nearly identical in content. The major difference tends to be some have the chapters on citizen participation prior to the chapters on governing institutions, while others have them after. The other characteristics that distinguish one from another are differing conceptual focuses. democratic participation a public choice approach that often are so lightly characterized, a few sentences scattered throughout each chapter, and so easily ignored that it's a heroic assumption to think that students really get that particular message. I don't know if I agree with that sentiment. The way you influence minds, in fact, is to plant little seeds like that throughout a chapter where, it doesn't call attention to itself, so they don't ever really focus on it and think about it.
It's not about smacking somebody over the head with the idea that you want them to get it. It's subtle.
Yeah. And that's the thing here. It's not, you don't write a textbook about how government is necessary and gives us all the good things in society. You just mention it here and there throughout the textbook. That way it gets into their heads unfiltered, unchallenged, and it becomes a bedrock principle for when they become adults. They end up saying things like, I don't know why you hate police so much. They do good things.
Where'd you learn that one?
In school, without a doubt. Or, it just in society at large from other people who had ultimately learned it in school. Sorry, whoever that is calling. I keep hanging up on you. The receiver was not off the hook. So just sit tight. So it is a problem when you have all of this happening and being planted in these ways that people don't notice. It's like having a television show that just randomly happens to drop the line about the good of government or something like that. And this does happen, because it's not being focused on. It's just thrown out there offhandedly. People don't stop to think about it. It just goes into their head, unchallenged, unquestioned.
Yeah, it's the speaker or writer or whatever makes this assumption, and it's something you pick up on, but it's not something that you notice,
right?
Or in order to question it.
It's sort of subliminal, except it's not trying to happen without your notice per se. It's just trying to slip it in there.
Right, and it usually works because you have to expend a lot of mental effort to catch that kind of thing.
You do. I mean, especially when you're reading a textbook or something like that about American government, and suddenly you find this line. And that's another issue, is that you trust this book as an authority. So if it says something, you tend to believe it to be true. And then suddenly there's this line about, oh, and thank goodness we have the government to build the roads, right?
As if the roads wouldn't get built without government.
Yeah, but most people won't stop to consider that. They'll just go, oh, yeah, then okay. Government builds roads. That's what gets put into their notes. If they even stop to make a note about that in the first place, it may move right back on into something else. So all of this stuff, superficially, the other characteristic, oh, I got over that. And then they suddenly said, but all of this stuff superficially looks good. I don't know if I agree with that, but whatever. As do all the graphs and 4-color photos with copyright fees attached. It looks good upon first inspection, and the faculty are the ones inspecting them. That is to say, textbook publishers are marketing to me and not to my students, which is a good point, I guess, but that's sort of the uselessness of college in general, is that a book marketed for the audience is going to be drastically different from a book marketed to a professor. In addition to that, many textbooks are updated on a 2 or 3 year cycle to try to limit the availability of current editions in the used market.
That's true.
In American government textbooks, the biennial elections provide a great justification to publish an elections update version every other year. Even though these updates provide very little value, and if not ignored by professors, probably most often function simply as literature for one class session at a cost increase for students of perhaps $60 over the price of a used copy. Well, that's about right. But I mean, you can find a lot of these used textbooks for significantly cheaper than a $60 discount.
Oh, yeah.
Well, this is the Call to Freedom. We're going to tell you more about why the textbook system is broken, so don't go anywhere.
Don't you hate that feeling in the pit of your stomach when the police pull you over? Most people have no idea how to handle it properly, and they promptly get fed into the municipal fee-generating meat grinder. Or maybe you recall that feeling you get when you go to the mailbox and see one or more letters from the IRS. You get a sense of impending doom, don't you? So let me ask you, if you could learn how to use the law to beat the IRS, traffic tickets, almost any courtroom scenario, collectors, credit card debt, and even mortgage debt because of fraud perpetrated against you. Would that be worth knowing about? Don't laugh. Investigate. Check out the life-changing benefits of the Lighthouse Law Club at their website, lighthouselaw.club. That's lighthouselaw.club. And while you're at it, visit the Lighthouse Law Club YouTube channel. You might be in for a pleasant surprise.
Are you a cryptocurrency advocate? The Crypto Tip is the ideal outreach tool to help new people discover cryptocurrency. It's a printable business card-sized tip that you can give to service providers, preferably in addition to a good cash tip. When the server scans the QR code, it'll bring up an explanation of cryptocurrency, how to install a wallet, and allow them to claim the tip. If they don't claim the crypto, you get your tip refunded to you after a time period you specify. Plus, if they do claim the tip, you get an email alert. Create as many tips as you want at cryptotip.org. That's cryptotip.org.
Free Talk Live.
Your show is dangerous for people.
Yes, it is very dangerous for the state. It's dangerous for the status themselves. It's dangerous for the status quo, Bob, and it's dangerous because people like you who only want one particular message, and that is crack down, put all those people in jail. We need to bust the border up, and we need to hurt peaceful people. That's what your message is. Yours is the real dangerous message because you're the one who's advocating aggression against peaceful people. Don't you think that's shameful?
No, I think if it's against the law, you shouldn't be advocating them against the law. I'm for the law.
Ding, ding.
And if you break the law,
Hey.
is
In the 1860s, it was against the law for black people to escape from their masters. Do you think they should have been brought back?
no.
Okay, you're a lawbreaker. The United States made it against the law for Indians to mix with white people. Do you think that that was a good law?
No.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
LRN.FM is proud to announce our official listening apps for Android and iOS devices. Now you can easily tune into our streams anywhere, anytime on your smartphone or tablet. Just visit apps.lrn.fm or search for LRN.FM in the Android or Apple app stores. Please download, rate us 5 stars, then share the link on your social media and let your friends and family know how you're listening to LRN.FM. Download it now, free at apps.lrn.fm.
Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm.
Do you love Twitter? Make sure you favorite the LRN.FM Twitter account so you can receive our tweets at twitter.lrn.fm. That's twitter.lrn.fm.
Welcome back. This is The Call to Freedom, and the Rational Review News Digest, located at rationalreview.com, is the Freedom Movement's daily news digest, aggregating stories from all over the internet that are of interest to libertarians and to liberty-minded people. They include podcasts, videos, blogs, and news articles, and are now a source for people to receive the Call to Freedom's podcasts. So be sure to check them out at rationalreview.com to stay up to date on all the happenings in the wider world. It's actually the Rational Review that brought me these 2 interesting stories. 3 interesting stories, actually. Right now, we're talking about high textbook prices and how they affect teaching. So in addition to all of the problems that we've been talking about, the high textbook prices may not affect the financial interests of teachers, but they do affect their teaching interest because many students choose to try to go without the book at all. I'm glad I'm not the only one. We could sneer that they obviously aren't serious students, but to do so, we'd have to ignore two important factors. Well, I tried to do it without a textbook, especially in regard to the macroeconomics, because I wanted to see if I could.
Right.
And it didn't prove to be a problem. But for a lot of them, it was mostly just, well, I guess it was the same mentality for all of them, was that I just wanted to test myself and my general knowledge in the first place. So one is that there's no good reason to expect that every biology, art, or exercise science major is deeply interested in my American government course. Many are there unwillingly, or at least reluctantly, and absent the requirement that they take a social science course, they never would have signed up. I did opt to take macroeconomics. It was not a required class. I did have to take something along those lines, but it was a choice between that and several others that I was interested in. So it's rational for them to limit their investment in the course to the minimum they predict will get them a passing grade. And to the extent they predict wrongly, it's generally because they're first-year students who have not yet learned what is required for college success. I was not a first-year. I was stupid enough to buy my books in the first year. And the second year. It wasn't until the third and fourth years I was like, I'm not buying my books anymore. I don't need that crap.
Well, there are alternatives these days.
There are. Like I said, I used my tablet for everything in British literature.
Even beyond that, there are other places to find the textbooks. Like you can import them. Like it's supposedly against copyright, but
but that's still buying the textbook.
It's still buying the textbook, but instead of paying $300, you're paying $30.
Yeah, but the question here is about going without the textbook.
The other thing is
not
you
about
can
getting a
download
cheaper
them.
copy. I did download one. They're surprisingly difficult to find, though.
There is actually a site for downloading textbooks.
Well, I took kind of niche classes. I mean, I'm sure for freshman level college classes, they're more readily available. But once you get up to sophomore levels and junior and senior levels, they're probably kind of difficult to find.
Less common, but it's worth looking.
It is. I would highly recommend people to. I did do one textbook that I had on my tablet as well. I don't remember which. I don't remember much from that semester, in fact. That was a weird semester. Anyway, so another reason students don't buy textbooks is that they're poor. They have not seen Keene State or Franklin Pierce.
Yeah, well, not here. I mean, you're talking about major, like, big state universities in poor states.
Yeah, like the University of Mississippi where I went. It was because I was poor that I did not buy my textbooks. I was working a full-time job and supporting myself and my wife at the time who did not work and paying all our bills and crap like that. So no, I did not have money for textbooks.
You didn't have time either, I bet.
No. Well, I did. We spent a lot of time together, actually. I had more time then than I do now, actually, which is strange. But so while the Department of Education now requires school bookstores to list the textbooks online so students can price shop, this doesn't help much if they are shut out of the used book market because their professor requires a brand new edition. This explains why the "yes, you can use that old edition, let me help you do so" response is the nice answer, but doesn't yet tell us why it's also the better intellectual model. Okay, clearly this person did not major in literature.
No.
And is not a professor of literature because this is not the first paragraph that seemed to just change the subject entirely.
What's he teaching? American government?
Yeah. And the reason for that is that it enlists, and to remember that, again, is the reason that most college professors don't want you to use old editions, which is a complete and total change of subject from why students choose sometimes not to buy textbooks. So, very bizarre. But the reason for that is that it enlists the student as a collaborator, both in the learning process and in recognizing the underlying problem and waging a guerrilla war against it. I definitely don't agree with that. I don't think the professors put that much conscious and deliberate thought into it when they're asked whether or not a student can use an old edition. I don't think they're like, no, because then you're a collaborator in this education process. Then you're my equal. I don't.
Yeah, I don't think that crosses a lot of people's minds.
No, I think it's just, institutionalized. It's just the expectation. This is the book that I want you to have, so this is the book you're going to get in the story. That's what I would expect. Consider the message the first two responses send. And again, those responses were to the question of using an old edition of a textbook. The no answer signals that the students' interests are wholly irrelevant and that education is accessible only to those who play by the rules imposed on them from above. That is what I think the heart of the matter is. That's why these college professors often don't allow students to use old editions. Of course, to me, I don't think it should matter. If you're capable of learning the material and passing the class, why does the professor care? Except for the power trip, right?
The power trip, or possibly for royalties.
Yeah. Yeah, if it's their book especially. I never took a class from a professor who wrote their own textbook, thankfully. Although I think I probably would have had to buy that one, because otherwise you are kind of giving a bad impression to your instructor or your professor, and that's generally not a good idea.
Yeah, you got a point there.
I think the proper response to that should probably be, oh, you have a book. Of course I'll be happy to buy it for $450. So anyway, none of this addresses the real problem, that the students' difficulty is caused by an ill-functioning market that enables exploitation of them. The sure fine response gives some grudging acknowledgement of the students' needs, but nothing more. It does not address the real problem. The yes and let me help you response both takes greater notice of the student's difficulty and opens up space for discussion of the underlying problem. They haven't actually gotten into the underlying problem throughout this entire article. I wonder if they're going to.
Oh, let's hope so.
One can teach the students why textbooks are so expensive, leading them to a better understanding of when markets function well and how the nature of power, even market power, is to be abusive. Yeah, that's why, oh, God, you give me a headache, author. That's why the professors that you're talking about don't want their students to use old editions, because they're more interested in abusing their power over the student than they are in facilitating the student's actual education. That's why the entire education system is set up the way it is, and that to go on to your master's and your doctorate, you have to appear before this panel of people who have to judge you as worthy. It's 100% a power trip. And then we can say, yes, you are being exploited. It's a scam. So let's you and I collaborate to fight this scam. You fight it by refusing to buy the latest pointless update, and I'll fight it by happily agreeing to let you use the old edition in my course and assisting you in doing so successfully. Why not just stick with the old edition then? Why wouldn't the professor themselves say, okay, well, we're not using the new edition of this book at all?
Sometimes they do.
Yeah, I guess so.
I don't know why he didn't mention it, but sometimes they do.
Well, this is the Call to Freedom. We got a little bit more about this, so don't go anywhere.
Did you know you can legally exit the U.S. federal income tax system? Well, it's true, and thousands of American nationals are doing it. The 16th Amendment and the Internal Revenue Code are legal, but only in a limited jurisdiction. This is the basis behind the voluntary nature of the income tax. Learn the exit strategy provided by Congress. Find out more by visiting weissparis.com and watch our numerous videos. That's WEISS Paris.com.
Hey, I'm LRN.FM Program Director Ian Freeman. If you're listening to our free-to-air satellite feed in North or Central America, heads up. We've been on the Galaxy 19 satellite since 2010, but now our satellite provider is moving LRN.FM to a new channel on a different transponder. The current channel will stay on the air until the end of May to give you time to transition without any loss of service, so don't delay. I've posted the new channel details at sat.lrn.fm, but in case you're listening with no internet access, if you do a blind scan on your receiver, you should see the new channel at transponder 6, 11.8425 GHz, horizontal polarization, symbol rate 22,000, FEC 3/4. All that information is at sat.lrn.fm, as well as a link to our Patreon, where you can support our channels for just $2 a month. Visit sat.lrn.fm for more information about our international satellite channels, and thanks for listening to LRN.fm. There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and one with just the Edgington Post. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
My name is Jacob Hornberger. I'm president of the Future of Freedom Foundation, which Congressman Ron Paul awarded for having an outstanding freedom website. Write us at fff@fff.org, and we'll send you a free 3-month subscription to our monthly journal of libertarian essays and our booklet, Economic Liberty in the Constitution, which George Mason University economics professor Walter Williams praised in a recent column. That's fff@fff.org.
LRN.FM now has a Discord. Discord is a free text and voice chat platform, and we now have our own server with a bunch of channels at discord.lrn.fm. You can join other listeners as they chat about various things during our live shows, or anytime, day or night. Discord software is available cross-platform, so you can have it on whatever device you want and take your chats anywhere. Join our Discord at discord.lrn.fm. That's discord.lrn.fm.
Hi, I'm Derek J. I don't want a politician to represent me. To me, government is the idea that one group of people can coerce everyone to comply with an edict or face increasing punishments up to and including death. Despite perhaps the most noble of intentions, the best government services are a far cry from what could be provided for by voluntary interactions. Besides, the people who call themselves the government wage wars and put peaceful people in jail for crimes involving no victims. If Starbucks used some of its money to drop bombs, I wouldn't shop there. So why would I support the American empire? The empire does not require my consent.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. That's victimlesscrimespree.com.
You can put the Liberty Radio Network on the air in your area. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how. Broadcast.lrn.fm.
Welcome back. This is the Call to Freedom. And if you've ever wanted to have sex with prostitutes and then arrest them, or bust people for drugs and then sell the drugs on the side for a nice little bonus, or just enjoy the power rush of being a cop without all the paperwork, then you should try the Thin Blue Line game, which can be found at thinbluelinegame.com. It's the only card game in the world that allows you to break into someone's apartment, shoot them, and then escape accountability by saying it was dark and I thought it was my apartment. You know, typical cop stuff. Get it now at thinbluelinegame.com. Assault and battery is not included, but for a limited time, you can order your copies and use the coupon code CTF to have all shipping costs waived. So go get it. Again, that's thinbluelinegame.com. And we've been talking about college textbooks here, and this professor who's kind of all over the place with explaining the problem and various reactions to the problem from students and faculty, but has yet to actually dive into the actual problem, which is kind of a problem in and of itself, because he is a professor of American government, and they don't see how this problem with the textbooks is a problem
with American government.
With American government, yeah. The students are not merely, the entire education apparatus is like totally in bed with the state.
Could be they just believe what they're teaching.
That's why they're increasingly socialist and increasingly liberals, because the entire system that we have places them in this upper echelon of people where they're consider these authorities, these elite, these intellectual masterminds who are underpinning all of society. So they love it because that's how they get to boss around the plebs. And
they have power, and they are going to use it to make your society what they want it to be, whether you like it or not.
Well, I don't think that's the case with the intellectual elite. That doesn't seem to be how they function. They prefer to, their role is to convince the masses of people why the system is good, rather than to get out there and actually use the abusive system themselves. Their job is to teach the students, to teach the high school kids and the college kids and the elementary kids and all of these other kids that the state apparatus is a good and positive thing.
That is an exercise of power.
Yeah, but it's kind of a voluntary submission to power. I mean, the intellectual doesn't have any authority over you unless you choose to listen to them. So I don't know if I can really call that power.
It's a choice, but it's not. It's not really. Is it really an informed choice?
Well, I'm not of the mind that we need to mitigate people's choices because they're uninformed or because they're poorly informed or because they're excellently informed. Because then it's just a matter of, oh, well, you don't have the information that I have, so I think your choice is wrong. But other people have information that I don't have, and they think my choices are wrong. And sometimes we just disagree on what information is available. So depending on the perspective of the person saying it, everybody is uninformed to some degree. And I'm not in the habit of suggesting that, we need to inhibit people's ability to make choices because they don't know something about a particular situation. So there are other ways for college faculty to fight this exploitation of students in a perverted market. And they still haven't explained what perverted it. An increasing number of professors are actually doing away with textbooks in introductory courses as a response. Well, yeah, look, if you need an introductory textbook for like English Lit 1 or trigonometry, well, no, even that wouldn't be considered entry level. I guess Algebra 1 maybe?
No, well, for college, trigonometry is remedial, not even introductory. Calculus would be introductory.
I majored in physics, and we didn't get into calculus until the third year. And actually, I got into it in the first semester because my ACT and SAT scores were really, really high. So I was able to bypass all of that. Even though I never took trig in high school, I was still not required to take it in college, which actually made learning calculus unusually difficult because it builds extensively off of trig. So that was fun, getting to learn trigonometry at the same time while learning calculus and having to teach myself trig because nobody was there to teach it to me. But I would still recommend that as the pathway for people to go. But I mean, there's not a lot that's after calculus as far as advanced mathematics go.
No, it goes in about 500 different directions at that point. Linear algebra, set theory, whatever.
Well, those are more remedial than calculus.
Really?
Well, linear algebra, perhaps not. But I don't know. I'm not a mathematician. That was the worst aspect of majoring in physics for me. Actually, no. The worst aspect was chemistry. I freaking hated chemistry. Thank you. Somebody on D-Life has said that it's college algebra, trigonometry, calc 1, 2, and 3, and then differential equations.
That's the one I was thinking of. Thank you.
Yeah. But I lost my train of thought when he corrected that. So anyway, this issue here is that the state is providing students with a lot of money that they can use to buy textbooks.
And of course, the price of textbooks goes up in response.
Yes. And this American government professor doesn't seem to be able to see that connection. Or if they are seeing it, it's the elephant in the room that they're purposely choosing not to address. So what they're saying is, introductory courses can do away with the textbooks. That's what we were saying, is that you shouldn't need a textbook to take,
college algebra?
Yeah, good. Look, I am not the best math person out there. I hated it in high school. It was actually calculus that taught me the elegance of mathematics and how it's actually rather beautiful. and I actually fell in love with it. But not to the extent that I wanted to just dive into it and learn the mathematics of everything, which is basically calculus is the mathematics of movement and change, but ultimately everything that happens in the universe can be mathematically deduced into some calculus equation. And I found that to be elegant and even inspiring. So if I could go back to my high school self and get them to learn more advanced math, I would do that. But algebra, pre-algebra, geometry, trigonometry, I didn't take that again. I hated all of it because I was one of those, when are we ever going to need this, kids? And the truth was, we never needed it. I've never needed it. At any point in my life have I needed to learn to know how to calculate the radius of a circle from its diameter. I mean, from its circumference. I have never once needed to know that. And I can't think of anybody who has. Possibly someone who's upgrading their car tires and needs new rims. Possibly. It could be useful in that scenario. But I really doubt it. And of course, there was always that, well, you're not going to have a calculator on you when you grow up. Kind of nonsense. And of course, we do.
Didn't know.
So not only did we not need, yes, I'm certainly not an engineer. I'm not saying no one ever needs it, right?
Well, I went into college for computer science, and I had to take calculus, and that was just, I hit a brick wall there. Calculus just would not enter my brain, and I couldn't get it. But the thing is, I never used calculus for anything.
Calculus was the only class that I actually studied during college because I absorbed information really, really well, but it never absorbed with calculus. I had to put in the conscious effort several hours a day in order to learn it because it was just super complicated and super foreign to me and foreign to my experiences in real life, you know? But it's all there if you care to look for it. It is true that you could throw a snowball outside and calculate how fast it's going to be melting when it's a certain size. Based on ambient temperatures and its starting size and all of that, you can do it.
Yeah. And that
but
kind,
why
that kind
would
of thing
you
is
bother?
Really useful if you're writing video games.
Yeah,
like a
that's
game
true.
engine.
Yeah. So, I mean,
I wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, we know calculus is heavily utilized in specialized fields. Obviously, you can't be an engineer without understanding calculus and without being able to apply it. You also can't design jets without being able to understand a bit of physics and engineering.
Fluid dynamics, that sort of thing.
So we're not saying that no one ever needs to know any of this stuff. Obviously, some people do, but it's so specialized that the average person absolutely does not need to know it. They probably could have stopped teaching math or higher levels of math at Algebra 1, and I don't think it would have made society any different than what we have today.
Probably not.
No. But this is the Call to Freedom. We're going to talk about engineering and the U.S. Navy in regard to what they don't want to call UFOs, but which evidently are UFOs. So don't go anywhere. This is the Call to Freedom, and we'll be back with just a moment to tell you all about the ETs that are probing Earth.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com. The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer-term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
More of the Call to Freedom is coming up next, live after the news on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
This is the Liberty Beat, your daily source for liberty news and activist updates. Produced in partnership with SNLS News and listeners like you. Online at libertybeat.news and snls.news. I'm Mick Murrow with your latest edition of the Liberty Beat. Gold is trading at $1,283. Silver at $14.96, and Bitcoin is trading around $5,147. Today's prices are brought to you by InnoScale. Take off with Managed Cloud. Looking for a safe, secure way to store your important files online? Let InnoScale handle it for you. Their high availability cloud servers are the perfect solution for clients needing one or more secure, scalable servers with built-in hardware failover protection. For details, see them online at innoscale.net. In the news, the Washington, D.C.-based Center for Economic Policy Research published a report last week on the effects of U.S. sanctions against Venezuela. Mint-Press News reports a 27-page paper was authored by economists Mark Weisbrot and Jeffrey Sachs, who determined that sanctions have inflicted various serious harm to human life in Venezuela. The sanctions are depriving Venezuelans of life-saving medicines, medical equipment, food, and other essential imports, according to a press release issued about the study. American sanctions are deliberately aiming to wreck Venezuela's economy and thereby lead to regime change, the press release states. Weisbrot and Sachs pointed out in the report that sanctions would fit the definition of collective punishment of the civilian population, as described in both the Geneva and Hague International Conventions, to which the U.S. is a signatory. Washington significantly escalated its unilateral coercive measures in August 2017, when the Venezuelan government and state oil company were cut off from financial markets. The Liberty Beat is sponsored in part by Brave Botanicals, high-quality kratom and CBD at reasonable prices, with excellent customer service. Brave Botanicals is activist-owned and mission-driven, fighting for your right to consume plant-based medicine and natural remedies. Find out more at mybravebotanicals.com. And right now, Liberty Beat listeners can save 10% by using promo code SNLS at checkout. This is the latest edition of the Liberty Beat. Find us online at libertybeat.news and snls.news. Your news now continues. In its crusade against fake news, Facebook has vowed to fight for impartiality. However, when it comes to fact-checking, it seems to rely on sources which have links to the U.S. government and renowned political meddlers. Activist Post reports that for more than 2 years, the social media giant has been seeking to convince the public that it does its best to take a stand against malicious disinformation spread through its network, and presented a whole bunch of instruments aimed at revealing and countering false narratives. Facebook proudly boasted that all of the partners it cooperates were certified through what it calls the Nonpartisan International Fact-Checking Network. However, the social network's choice of people to trust with the power to decide what is true or false raises questions. Among the founders and financial backers is the Omidyar Network, a foundation run by the eBay founder and self-described progressive billionaire Pierre Omidyar. Due to his history and the history of other funders of Facebook's project, questions of impartiality remain. According to figures released by the Prisoners and Freed Prisoners Committee of the Palestine Liberation Organization Sunday, the State of Israel has imprisoned more than 50,000 children since the occupation of Palestine's West Bank began in 1967. According to Mint-Press News, the PLO report also noted that around 17,000 of those child arrests had occurred since the year 2000. The report used the UN definition that states that a child is any person younger than 18 years of age. However, Israel's government has defined children younger than 16 as children, while applying the UN definition to Israeli children. The PLO report was made public as the head of the PLO Prisoner Committee gave testimony to the 5th European Union Conference in support of prisoners. In delivering his report, he noted that the rate of child imprisonment by the Israeli state had nearly doubled, averaging around 700 children imprisoned annually from 2000 to 2010, but rising to around 1,250 between 2011 and 2018. Support for the Liberty Beat comes from the Conscious Resistance Network, featuring videos, news reports, and articles from a spiritual anarchist perspective. Experience the Conscious Resistance at theconsciousresistance.com. How would you like to have your business featured on the Liberty Beat? You can. Just send an email to libertybeat@snls.news for details. This is the Liberty Beat, produced in partnership with SNLS News and listeners like you. The Liberty Beat is online at libertybeat.news and snls.news. I'm Mick Murrow, reporting for the Liberty Beat, reminding you, spread liberty with a smile.
Fans of the Tour de France will be disappointed to hear that the race has been put on hold for an indefinite amount of time, as many of the world's top cyclists are currently riding over to the creek to check out cool bugs. Our Chad Williams is live in Bergerac, France.
Thanks, Rachel. Roads that should be full of bikers are empty this afternoon. Right now, the riders were supposed to be here making the climb up the legendary Mont Ventoux, but instead, they rode into the woods after German cyclist Andre Greipel heard that there were a bunch of stick bugs down at the creek, and then everybody wanted to go down there and throw rocks at them. That's when Dmitry Muravyev reportedly skinned his knee but didn't care, and Irish champion Nicholas Roach announced he saw this big weird frog with like an extra arm or something, but it was hard to tell because it hopped away too fast. Race officials have not put a time frame on when the event will pick up again.
People keep saying that this is going to delay the race, but if I know these boys like I think I do, they're going to find some awesome shortcut through someone's backyard.
This is the Onion News Network.
Welcome back. This is The Call to Freedom. I'm your host, as always, Arya DeMezzo of Arya Uncensored, which airs Tuesday nights at 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time on dlive.lrn.fm and twitch.lrn.fm and youtube.com/Arya DeMezzo. Finally got that URL claimed. Awesome.
Took long enough.
Well, yeah, I don't really promote.
Oh, you're not promoting it. Okay.
Well, I am
you
now. Well, I couldn't. I didn't have a URL to give. It was just a random string of letters and numbers. But on the topic of Arya Uncensored, anyway, so I'm joined in the studio as always by
Michael Hampton from cryptotip.org.
So there will not be an episode of Arya Uncensored tomorrow. I've got some other stuff to do. There will also not be a Call to Freedom tomorrow, a live Call to Freedom tomorrow. It's all good. Everything's fine. Don't worry. People really seem to flip out when we miss an episode. It'll be okay. But
stuff happens.
Yeah, I just have other stuff that I have to get done, and tomorrow's a really good day for it. It has to be a Monday or a Tuesday that I do this kind of stuff, and I don't want to miss out on Monday because I also do Free Talk Live, so it just doesn't make sense to miss that and Call to Freedom when I can just miss Call to Freedom and Arya Uncensored, which isn't as big or as popular. But yeah. I promised a number of people that I would get into the topic today. Yeah, see, I'm still doing Arya Uncensored. I'm just not doing it tomorrow.
We'll be back next Tuesday.
We did get temporarily suspended from Twitch. And
what was the reason?
My boobies. Yes, I love saying it. My boobs got us suspended from Twitch. That at least seems to be the case. It was only a 3-day ban, so it's not worth fighting or anything like that. I mean, sure, we're going to try to get some more information on them, but there's really nothing to fight. It's already over. We're back on Twitch already. I don't think Call to Freedom was ever not on Twitch, actually, because of how it timed out.
We didn't come in on Friday, and the ban was over the weekend.
Yeah. I think it may have actually started during Friday's episode of Call to Freedom because the stream button on vMix had turned yellow, and I pointed out to Mark that it appeared to be having an issue streaming to Twitch. And it was because we were suspended.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So that was fun. And I noticed that we also had to log back into Twitch. It had presented me with the login window when I went to the screen, but I had to get to work, so I didn't have time to think about it. It wasn't Friday. It was Thursday that this happened because we didn't do Friday. But Aria Uncensored will continue. I'm going to redo the overlay for the next episode, though, where I use a spray paint effect to cross out the un. And that's just Aria Censored.
Yeah.
It's going to be great. We're considering a number of possibilities here. I think what we're likely to do is get these bikini tops that have airbrushed boobs on them. So then I'm not technically topless. I'm just wearing, and they're not photographs, they're airbrushed on, so they don't look exactly real. And just wear that during the show. It will unfortunately be censored to some extent henceforth because I don't want, to get us permanently banned or anything like that. We wanted to know what would happen. Now we know.
We found out.
And it was funny. I hate that I got the LRN studio, suspended from Twitch, but it was totally worth it.
I hate that there's somebody out there who has a stick so far up their rear end that they reported it.
Yeah, that's true. But I think it's interesting that Twitch or Amazon chose to act on this one because people have complained about Free Talk Live during the summer being topless. I mean, I saw that myself. And
nothing happened there, right?
And I know people reported it, but as far as I'm aware, nothing ever happened. But then tranny boobies. Oh, no. They finally did something. So
yeah,
we're going to find out exactly what the cutoff point is as far as cup size. Well, actually, we're not because I don't think Twitch is actually going to respond to us on that particular subject. I don't think that's what was asked of them anyway, but, I think it was probably asked of them, and I don't know the details, what counts as nudity in this regard that doesn't apply to all of these topless male streamers because something is an issue. And I expected them to ignore it, but really Twitch had no good way to handle this. Either they ignored me and were technically transphobic for not treating me like a real woman and banning me as they would any other girl who showed her boobs on live stream.
Right.
Or they were sexist and will only target female boobs. So there's really no right answer for them. They're going to be screwed up either way. And they stepped right into it, so let's see what happens. I think it's going to be fun. So anyway, UFOs, right? So they're a thing, and I've always found it fascinating, right? I'm not talking about Roswell or any of this kind of crap. I'm talking about the very real documented evidence of pilots with the U.S. Navy and with the U.S. Air Force who encounter objects that they cannot identify quite regularly. I think a number of F-17s or something like that actually chased one of these, but there's documented evidence that as they chase after these, they just can't keep up. They can't maneuver as well as the UFOs that they're chasing. So what they are, what they're doing there, who knows?
We don't know yet.
But there is certain, unless all of these people are lying, right?
Well, that's what the U means is unidentified.
Right. But I mean, it has a certain connotation to it. And that's why the U.S. Navy wants to get away from it. Because it does. When you hear about UFO, you think extraterrestrial.
Right. That's not technically what it means. It means unidentified flying object. It means you don't know what it is.
Yeah, but in order for something to be flying over American airspace that we can't identify, it would almost have to be extraterrestrial technology at this point. Because our technology is the best in the world.
More or less.
Well, I mean, it's unequivocally, not more or less, it is absolutely the best in the world.
You can have an airplane or a helicopter or something that is stealth, that has this stealth technology on it. And
yeah, but it would be American made.
But it would what?
It would be American made.
Would it? Doesn't any other country have this stealth stuff? Doesn't
not capable of flying over American airspace.
Okay, well, yeah.
So anything flying over the United States that we can't identify is, as I'm saying, almost certainly extraterrestrial technology. I don't really know if I want to say that, because that means that I must believe that extraterrestrials are visiting Earth, and I don't necessarily believe that.
You know what? It could also be one of those secret programs out of like another stealth aircraft of some type.
It very well could
that
be.
Nobody knows about because it's a secret.
Yeah. And that's part of the issue here, is that the Air Force's technology, what they're actually capable of, we're more than a decade behind them in terms of our knowledge. Like, okay, so they can do these drones and things like that. Now, okay, they can also do stuff that we're going to learn about in 2029.
Yeah, I mean, now that you mentioned drone, that very well could be. It could be some kind of stealth drone.
It could be. But, I mean, even that would be identified by the Air Force pilots, right?
Well, no, unmanned drones are unmanned.
Right.
So the pilots are on the ground.
But the U.S. pilots who are encountering them in airspace will be able to go, oh, that's an American drone.
Not if they're not broadcasting IFF.
They would be able to see it and say that's an American drone.
Well, if they can get close enough to get a visual contact on it.
Well, they would have to be, because drones aren't large.
If it's at night or something, and you're just seeing like a.
Well, we're talking about pilots who encounter these while flying around.
Right.
I would imagine the U.S. Air Force has a pretty good idea of what's flying around in American airspace. And then an American Air Force pilot would know whether or not something they're seeing on radar or seeing, through the glass is an American vessel.
Well, they'd have to identify it first.
Right. That's the issue here, though.
So you can either identify it visually, or you can identify it through a radar. Well, the radar return is just going to tell you whether it's there. You identify it through its transponder, which every aircraft in the world is supposed to have one of these.
Right.
Unless it's like a little Cessna or something, but even they're getting them in the next couple of years.
Right, but I mean, in specific, we're talking about Air Force pilots or Navy pilots who encounter unidentified flying objects and are told by their superiors to pursue them and things like that because they can't identify them and they want to, shoot them down, I guess, for violating American airspace or something like that. Well, this is the Call to Freedom. We're going to actually get into the article, so don't go anywhere, because the U.S. Navy is drafting new rules about how to deal with these UFOs, and we're going to get into it.
What do you shop for that you could otherwise buy at Amazon? Pretty much everything, right? Amazon has competitive pricing and they deliver, and that's a big plus. If you could plan ahead in your shopping, would you be interested in saving up to 33%? There's a catch. You have to do your shopping in Bitcoin. But imagine those savings. It's like a huge raise. All you have to do is go to saveitpurse.com. We've saved thousands, and you can too. Plan ahead and save. Saveitpurse.com. The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com.
Imagine someone in your community getting in their car, turning on the radio, and hearing the Liberty Radio Network. You can make that vision a reality with your own micro radio station. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how you can put our programs on the air in your area. You can have LRN.FM running around the clock, and you can even add in your own local shows. Building a radio station is simple, but programming isn't. That's where LRN.FM comes in. Learn more at broadcast.lrn.fm. That's broadcast.lrn.fm.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealestate.com.
Did you know we've taken our LRN.FM telephone listen line to a new level with the LRN.FM audio on demand line? Now you can call 712-770-8447 anytime and listen to LRN.FM's live feed. And you can listen to a bunch of our original shows on demand. Long distance fees may apply. Just dial 712-770-8447 and choose from the menu. 712-770-8447.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with agristhosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agrist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to agristhosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's agristhosting.com.
Help get LRN.FM into more ears. Visit promote.lrn.fm for a free bumper sticker, flyers, banners, graphics, and more. Promote.lrn.fm.
Welcome back. This is the Call to Freedom. Of course, you're invited to give us a call. That number is 603-283-6160. Again, that's 603-283-6160, or you can use the Discord call-in lines, which you can find at discord.lrn.fm. And I actually see we have a Discord caller right now. I'll get with you momentarily. So we're talking about the U.S. Navy and their response to unidentified flying objects. Apparently, they're drafting new rules for reporting these sightings, according to a recent story from Politico. Apparently, enough incidents have occurred in various military-controlled ranges and designated airspace in recent years to prompt military officials to establish a formal system to collect and analyze the unexplained phenomenon. Members of Congress and their staffs have even started asking about the claims, and Navy officials and pilots have responded with formal briefings. I want to hear more about all of this. I don't care about the Navy's new "don't call them UFOs" thing. I want to hear more about the UFO encounters. I'm sure there are some really awesome YouTube videos that compile this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Unfortunately, they're going to take the ball and run with it. They're not looking at this as a curiosity of, I wonder what's going on here in the way that I do. They're going to go, it's UFOs, it's aliens, it's ETs. We found an angel statue on the moon. There's a base on the other side of the moon. And all kinds of nonsense like that you can find on YouTube right now. And that is absolutely as ridiculous as it sounds.
Yeah, well, some people actually believe that crap.
They do. Pictures from them. A lot of my friends from Mississippi do, in fact. And it's really difficult sometimes because I tend to see things like that and go, oh, why are you people why are you like this? And they're like this. But the pictures from the Mars rover were huge for them because, they had the one that was supposed to be some reptile's skeleton or something like that. And I was like, it's pretty clearly not, though. I mean, you're saying that's some spider-looking thing there on the wall. I don't see it. Maybe if you kind of squint and tilt your head to the side a little bit, you can kind of maybe look at it as a spider-shaped-ish thing.
Yeah, this just sounds like they have an overactive imagination and they're filling in the holes.
Sure.
Seeing something that isn't there.
But they're not the only ones. Pareidolia is certainly a real thing. That's the tendency of humans to see and hear organized things in things that are disorganized. It's like the tendency to see shape, faces, and shadows and things like that.
But your brain wants to find patterns.
Right. And pareidolia is one of the side effects of that, is that when these people see these unidentified things on the moon, they go, oh, well, that's clearly a human face. That's clearly a face on Mars.
Yeah, they're taking it too far.
So the Washington Post provided more details. In some cases, pilots, many of whom are engineers, speaking of calculus, and academy graduates, claim to observe small spherical objects flying in formation. Others say they've seen white, tic-tac-shaped vehicles. Aside from drones, all engines rely on burning fuel to generate power. But these vehicles all had no air intake, no wind, and no exhaust. Drones don't require burning fuel?
Well, not an electric one.
It's still technically burning fuel, is it not?
Well, it doesn't have like a
no exhaust,
propeller exhaust, or a jet blast or anything like that.
Fair enough. So the Navy knows how all of this sounds. It knows what you must be thinking. I can tell you this right now. They know exactly what we're thinking. But the fact stands that some pilots say they've seen strange things in the sky. And there's a link here. Perfect. And that's concerning. I don't know if it's concerning. It's interesting. That is not at all UFO related. What the hell?
That was some transformer blowing up.
Yeah.
did they just put that picture there to be decorative?
I don't know. Okay, so I clicked the link, right, expecting this to be an article about pilots reporting seeing strange things in the sky, because it's linked in an article about pilots seeing strange things in the sky without actually providing any specific examples. So I click it, and it's an article about a transformer blowing up, allegedly. I don't know. This is the first time I've ever seen it. Michael says it was a transformer that blew up.
It was in Brooklyn or Queens. I don't remember which, but it did light up the sky pretty blue for a while.
Yeah, so the sky turned a mystical blue, and that's where the article links to. How absolutely useless.
Yeah, that isn't even related.
No, but it's a mysterious thing, I guess. I mean, people do tend to do that. I'm sure there were countless people who were watching and going, oh, this is a sign from God.
Oh, yeah, or aliens or whatever. And then, Con Ed's substation blew up.
Yep. So the Navy is trying to assure pilots that they won't be left out of the cockpit or deemed unhinged if they bring it up. For safety and security concerns, the Navy and the U.S. Air Force take these reports very seriously and investigate each and every report, the Navy said. Yet, even as the Navy indicates it's willing to discuss the taboo topic, it's also shying away from 3 notorious little letters. UFO carries an airport's worth of baggage, bursting with urban legends, government secrecy, and over-the-top Hollywood movies. The Roswell incident is really interesting, in my opinion. I don't know what happened there. I'm not pretending to. But the accounts that I've seen of like the sheriff taking home this medal that he couldn't identify, and the government coming out and saying it was a UFO, and then saying, oh, we were wrong, it was just a weather balloon, move along, there's nothing to see here. It's all very curious.
Yeah, it is.
And I'm not saying a UFO, an extraterrestrial vehicle crashed in Roswell. I don't actually know.
The U.S. government just loves to keep secrets, and when they do that, it just gets people going.
I will say that I don't believe the U.S. government is conspiring to keep secret contact with extraterrestrials, because they're not that good at keeping secrets. I think that kind of thing would get leaked, and it would have substantial evidence to support it in that particular case.
If something like that had happened, somebody would decide it really should have been published in the newspaper and leaked it.
But we have, in fact, had leaks or confessions from former astronauts and people like that who say absolutely there are absolutely extraterrestrials who visit Earth. And then they try to sell you a book.
Well, of course.
I mean, yeah, so who knows? They could just be, and NASA, of course, comes out and says he's just making this up, ignore him. But who knows, right? I think that's the big question here, and I think that's probably why human beings find these topics so fascinating. It's not just the possibility that the UFOs and extraterrestrials are out there, which is fascinating in its own right. It also has this good versus evil, this almost Campbellian story of humans seeking after this particular knowledge that the institutional powers are forbidding them to have, presumably because we're just not ready for it. Even though I think learning about the existence of extraterrestrials would probably be the best thing to ever happen to humanity and our absolutely out of control egos. So the message, if you see something, lower your voice. That's the Air Force's message about UFOs. And we're going to get more into this, so don't go anywhere. This is the Call to Freedom.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm. Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get 1 free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm. Hey, I'm LRN.FM Program Director Ian Freeman. If you're listening to our free-to-air satellite feed in North or Central America, heads up! We've been on the Galaxy 19 satellite since 2010, but now our satellite provider is moving LRN.FM to a new channel on a different transponder. The current channel will stay on the air until the end of May to give you time to transition without any loss of service, so don't delay. I've posted the new channel details at sat.lrn.fm, but in case you're listening with no internet access, if you do a blind scan on your receiver, you should see the new channel at transponder 6, 11.8425 GHz, horizontal polarization, symbol rate 22,000, FEC 3/4. All that information is at sat.lrn.fm, as well as a link to our Patreon, where you can support our channels for just $2 a month. Visit sat.lrn.fm for more information about our international satellite channels, and thanks for listening to LRN.fm.
Some of our live shows are streamed in HD on Twitch. Please follow and share at twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
Welcome back. This is the Call to Freedom. And we've been talking about unidentified flying objects, which I really wish when I see this story in hindsight that I had done more research into specific claims being made by pilots and things like that. Because it's to me a tremendously fascinating subject, because there doesn't seem to be any doubt that there are unidentified flying objects flying essentially wherever they want.
Yeah, something is going on out there. We don't know what. That's why it's unidentified, but something is definitely going on.
But purportedly, these sorts of things also appear in very old artwork, like from the Middle Ages, the medieval period, and things like that. And there's even allegations that many of these chariots, these sky chariots that are referred to in things like the Hindu book, whatever its name is the Bhagavad Gita or something like that. I don't know. I'm not a Hindu, so...
Are they not just seeing like Halley's Comet and things like that?
Well, it refers to two gods having what has been interpreted by that particular conspiracy fringe as fighting a war across the earth with their sky chariots and using what they believe to be nuclear weapons in this conflict. And in the video that I saw, they claimed to have done radiological testing, whatever the term is for it, I can't think of it off the top of my head, to test for radioactivity in these areas where these things were supposed to happen, and they claimed that they did find it. And if that's true, that's something you can go and replicate yourself, and then you have to ask, well, why does this area that was decimated 10,000 years ago, according to this religious text, test positive for radioactivity, right? So there's a lot of questions. I don't have the answers to them. There's the Great Freaking Pyramid. I don't have the answer to that. I don't know, man. What do you want from me? I find it fascinating. I'm not saying that the Great Pyramid was built by extraterrestrials. I am saying, however, that the three pyramids right down the Gaza Strip, they correspond perfectly to Orion's belt. And the Great Pyramid is in the geographic center of the Earth and is faced, what is the word I'm looking for? It is faced perfectly to magnetic north, and this was done at a time before the magnet was discovered.
At least discovered by Westerners, because the Egyptians might have known about magnetic north.
Well, they did not, according to archaeologists and historians.
So how did they build it that way then?
That's my question. I don't know.
Did they maybe they went by the sun?
They very well could have. You know, that's how they seem to have done a lot of this. There's also the Sphinx, and I don't remember all of that. There's this really cool documentary. There's two of them. One of them is called The Pyramid Code. That's what I mean. There are two of them. There are two movies called The Pyramid Code. One of them is absolutely ridiculous. Do not watch it. The other one tends to stay pretty close to the facts, as I'm doing, and just says, hey, that's weird, man. I don't know. So don't find the one that speculates a bunch of garbage. I don't find that to be particularly useful when one is examining the truth. But, you know, there is so much curiosity in regard to the Great Pyramid, which is, you know, how these stones are just so perfectly... You can't even shine a laser through them.
Yeah,
They're just...
How did they do that 4,000 or 5,000 years ago?
With chisels and hammers, we're told. And look, I'm willing to accept that someone who does that all day, every day, could be that good at it. But I'm not sure I can accept that you would have enough of those people who are that skilled to be able to do this in those kinds of numbers. So, I don't know, man. But neither does Kicks for Guns, who is calling. He's watching us on Twitch. And he's actually got some interesting thoughts on Twitch. Kicks, are you with us?
I'm with you guys. How's it going?
Good. So what are your thoughts about Twitch? You mentioned that you really enjoy Aria Uncensored. And
enjoy
again,
Aria
thank you for that.
And, yes, and that's one of my favorite shows on, aside from Free Talk Live, it is my favorite show. And I listen to a lot of Liberty Radio Network. And, you know, I like you, and I always forget the gentleman's name there, but I like him too.
I'm Michael.
He's real cool.
Awesome.
That'd be real cool, man. Love it.
Thank you.
So, and I think that was bullshit.
Come on, dude. You can't, gotta hit the dump button on that. Yeah.
Okay. And then, well, how you guys got
you didn't get
banned
the
for
whole
3
word
days.
out, so that's good.
Yes, I forget sometimes because anyways, so let me get to it. So, anyways, thank you for doing Aria Uncensored. It's okay. You got to take a break tomorrow. Nobody freak out. Aria's going to be back, and we're going to have fun. And yeah, I think you're going to do the paint-ons. I think that'd be beautiful. Or you could do the pasties. I've seen them with the little pasties, little black pasties. And then if you have the pasties on, they can't say anything. Also, so what you're going to do, like a paint?
No, it's a bikini top that has them painted on.
Yeah, there's actually, like, we saw this in the studio here before the show. There's actually a flesh-colored bikini with airbrushed on. They look vaguely like areolas and nipples, but it's just painted on.
Personally, I'm a fan of the electric tape idea. Just putting
black tape.
Yeah, just putting 2 black X's right there. Well, I'm a fan of that idea.
We can stop at Home Depot on the way home.
And then we can see.
Well, I've got
some of the
electrical
beautiful side.
tape. Well, to me, it's a question of what is going to be the funniest to me, right? Because that's why I do it. And both of them, I mean, it's about equal in terms of how funny I think it's going to be. I think the electrical tape is funny for different reasons than the topless bra was.
Troll face pasties.
Yeah. Somebody has asked on D Live what the point of being topless was. In the first place, the point was to get as much humor as I could from every waking moment of my life. Mission accomplished. Now, how can I still be funny while not getting us permanently bad is the question. So, yeah, there are avenues we intend to explore there. I also think it's messed up. But as we were alluding to earlier, Twitch really had no good way to go about handling this. Right?
Yeah, I'm sure they're confused just as much as anybody, so I think it's hilarious.
Yeah, but in this case, they did take the side of sexism, clearly. And that
absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it's wrong.
I would agree. I completely support the Free the Nipple movement.
100%. Now let's get into the UFO topic. I have personally seen 3 of UFOs, and then the one time I had a witness, and I put it on MUFON.org, which is the Mutual UFO Network, is where you can report UFOs. And I called into a radio station and told them about this, and other people were calling in and said they saw the same thing. And so what happened was, on this occasion, it wasn't a metallic ship or anything. What it was a orange orb, and it was flying, I'd say, about 80 to 100 feet in the air, and it was going at a good pace, but it was just going straight across over.
Now, might it have been white and simply reflecting some orange color off of it, like the sun or something like that?
No, it was dark.
Okay.
So there's no way the sun was reflecting off of it. And then, this is the weird thing, what happened was it would shoot off. It shot off way far out, faster than I could ever see a plane or anything else accelerating. And also when it did that, it went up higher up in the air, went straight up, went left to the right, and then it just other little orbs out from underneath it, kind of like, let's say, like a metallic ball, or like mercury. It was just dropping other little orbs with it, and then they started doing like acrobats, running around in circles, going left, right, up and down, and then all of a sudden they just shot straight up to the sky. It was amazing, and other people saw it. There was a guy that was walking down the road, and he saw it too.
Interesting.
He was with me. I also got 2 more.
I need you to sit tight for a moment. I definitely want to hear those. I've never encountered an unidentified flying object as far as I'm aware. If I did, I just assumed it was a plane or something like that. I've certainly never seen anything weird like that, even though I did live next to what was a drop zone for the U.S. Air Force through most of my childhood.
So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
We've got Today Now's medical expert, Dr. Kareem Mazari, here to give us some tips on how to convince a stubborn little guy to take off his Spider-Man costume and start wearing normal clothes so people don't think he's a weirdo. And also joining us is my son Spencer, still dressed as Spider-Man. Spencer?
Hi, Mom. I find the best thing to do is to try and have a dialogue with your child. Now, Spencer, why won't you take your costume off?
Because then people will know my true identity. You're not even wearing the mask. People already know who you are.
Well, bargaining can work. Explain to your child.
Is it not enough that I say take off the Spider-Man costume? Now I've got to bargain with my own child? Jesus Christ.
You know,
Spencer, sit down. Sit down. Do you want to be put in the silence trunk again? You don't like the silence trunk, do you?
Okay.
I'm Spider-Man. I'm Spider-Man. Spencer, sit down right now. Sit down, you little face, or I will break the rest of your toys on purpose. Do you understand me?
This is the Onion News Network.
Did you know you can listen to LRN.FM via our free-to-air satellite channels? We have channels over nearly all of North America and much of Africa. All you need is an affordable receiver and a dish as small as 30 inches. There are no monthly fees. Learn more at sat.lrn.fm. Plus, if you are a broadcaster or want to be one, this is a good delivery method for our content. See our coverage maps and get details at sat.lrn.fm. That's sat.lrn.fm. sat.lrn.fm.
The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount.
Now that you've found the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM, you may want to help expose others to our great programs. To assist you in doing so, you'll find resources at promote.lrn.fm, including details on how to get a free bumper sticker, quarter-page flyers you can print out and distribute, banners for your website, as well as files that will allow you to make your own custom banners and graphics. Visit promote.lrn.fm and help bring new listeners to the Liberty Radio Network. That's promote.lrn.fm.
Would you like to hang out with Penn Jillette? He's keynoting Freedom Fest this year. I, for one, am thrilled. Freedom Fest is the largest liberty-oriented gathering in the world. They take a Big Ten approach with libertarians, conservatives, liberals, anarchists, and just open-minded people mingling together to hear real debates, share real solutions, and converse freely. This year's theme is the Wild West, a time of liberty and opportunity, or a time of anarchy and violence. Maybe both. Go to freedomfest.com/FTL and get your tickets now. freedomfest.com/FTL. Not convinced yet? Hey, I understand. It's a high-end event, even with coupon code FTLEB. Sure, you're likely to receive investment advice that'll make that sum seem paltry, but I have something special for you. Go to freedomfest.com/FTL and you'll get the 5 best speeches from last year for free. Call it a test drive. Do yourself a favor and go to freedomfest.com/FTL. freedomfest.com/FTL. Use coupon code FTLEB for a discount.
Love what we do? Please help support our international satellite channels at patreon.lrn.fm. That's patreon.lrn.fm.
Welcome back. This is The Call to Freedom. I'd like to take a moment to remind you that our podcasts have moved from Spreaker and can now be found on Podbean at calltofreedomlive.podbean.com. The podcast can also be found on Google Play Music, Spotify, and iTunes by searching for The Call to Freedom. The archive at Spreaker is no longer being updated, so to stay recent on the show, you'll need to go to calltofreedomlive.podbean.com or use the RSS feed at calltofreedomlive.podbean.com/feed.xml. So go check that out. especially for all of the people who like complaining about the commercials, you'll be happy to know that there are no commercials in the podcast version. It's just sort of uploaded there. So
the catch there is that we're not live on the podcast.
We are not. So if we tell you to call in now or something like that on the podcast, don't do it. Well, you probably should not.
Because it'll be the next day.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it won't even be the next day. It may just be
2 days later, whatever.
It may be 2 o'clock in the morning that they listen to it, you know, in which case nobody would be here to see it. But we're joined by Kicks for Guns, who is telling us about his encounters with unidentified flying objects. And this was something that I was going to get into a little earlier when we were talking about the U.S. Air Force and their advancements based versus what we're actually aware they're capable of doing. When we see things flying around in these hotbeds of Air Force activity, I think the default assumption should be that, you know, it's probably some American vehicle about which we're ignorant at this point, and that we'll probably learn about a decade from now.
Yeah, you have like these top secret SCI code word programs that nobody knows about except the people, the 10 people that are in the program.
Yeah.
So,
and there's definitely a lot of experimental aircraft being flown and things like that. That's how they find out what works and what doesn't. So I think there's, especially in these areas that are hotbeds of Air Force activity, I think we should approach them with increased skepticism than we would if it was to happen in, like, you know, rural Texas or whatever. But speaking of rural areas, you know, I'm from a place in Mississippi where I was not even a mile from a drop zone. That's what we always called it. It was the drop zone.
Military training there?
Yes, particularly aircraft, or the Air Force and the U.S. Navy. But I never saw anything that was unexplained. And I'm not sure anyone else did. What was curious to me, though, was that through most of my life, it was totally acceptable to just go there and wander around. If the Air Force or the Navy was doing something that day, they were going to usher you out and close down the place. But otherwise, you could just come and go as you wanted to.
Yeah.
That stopped being the case around the time I was 14 years old. And they got guard posts out there and fences and things like that. So something changed. But again,
well, there was 9/11.
Never saw any UFOs or anything like that. Well, I don't know why you would speculate that. That is not around my age. But A for effort. So anyway,
I'm just guessing.
We're joined with Kicks for Guns now. Are you still with us?
I'm here.
All right, so you said you had 2 other UFO stories.
Yes. Another one. I'm in Lakeland, Florida, which is about Dill Air Force Base, which is in Tampa.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the orbs, that is something that I have no idea what they were. I mean, I don't know if they were, you know, aliens from another planet. I have no idea. I can't explain that one. Now, this one was a really weird one that I did see, and online, I other people that have seen this kind of object too. They call it big black delta. And what I saw was I was living in my parents' house, and I was on the back porch, and I listen to a lot of Coast to Coast. So I love sky watching, you know, so I'm always out. I watch the sky, you know, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours a night. I like to go out and just sit on top of my car and watch the sky. And so it's not that I'm looking for UFOs necessarily, but you know what?
What did you see while you were out there that night?
Oh, okay. It was a triangular craft. It had white lights on the front of it and 2 lights on the back of it. So I saw it, and what it would do, it would fly through the sky, it would stop, and I got my binoculars because I noticed this craft, but it was pretty far away. And what it would do is it would start. It wasn't going as fast as those orbs, but it would fly, and then it would stop and just hover. And I got the binoculars, and I called my dad out, and I'm like, "Hey, Dad, come look at this." And he went, and he looked at through the binoculars and says, "Now, what do you think that is, man?" He's like, "I don't know. I've never seen anything like that." And it was pretty amazing because now I think that might be a military aircraft that they're working on or something. That was one that, I think might be able to explain.
Other than stopping and hovering, it sounds identical to a stealth bomber, which of course was
stealth
flown.
Fighter.
Or a stealth fighter.
Yeah.
Which was, of course, flown over American airspace long before the American public knew that those existed. I'm sure that there was a tremendous upsurge in UFO reports as a result of these triangular-shaped Air Force vessels.
I think they got them upgraded now, and these things can stop in midair and hover.
That doesn't surprise me. I've been looking at...
that's pretty crazy.
Well, drones can hover.
Yeah, I've been studying flying cars, too, for the last couple decades, and that's what they do. They hover. That's how they land and take off. It's vertical takeoff and landing.
So that was, a military aircraft, okay? But now the third one, no one's ever been explained to me, and it was only me. I'm the only one that witnessed this. But I was listening to Coast to Coast one night, and I fell asleep for about 5 minutes, and then I woke up, and when I woke up, I saw it was a white orb, and it came in through I had an AC, like a AC conditioner through the window. It came in through the window, and 90-degree angle. It went over my TV, turned on my TV, and then flew back out through the air conditioner. Now, how I know this wasn't an hallucination, I had, insulation, like that pink insulation. I had that around the air conditioner, just put up around it. The insulation was out on the ground, and
so I mean, it left physical. It left physical evidence that something had passed through. Correct.
That's right. That's right. And I wasn't on any psychedelics or anything at that time. And I've been on psychedelics before, and I still never seen anything like that. And it was pretty wild. And when I hallucinate on psychedelics, I've never had any physical things actually move. You might look like it, but nothing was actually ever moved. It's a hallucination. I know that. But this actually turned on my TV, and it took down the insulation around my air conditioner. Now, it was pretty amazing. Now, I can't explain that. Who knows what it is?
Right.
But something is going on. I think there is some type of supernatural or some type of I wouldn't say spiritual, but I think there are supernatural phenomenons and stuff, and I think they happen to certain people that are in tune with different frequencies. So that's my stories.
All right. Well, thank you for the call.
Thank you, guys.
I appreciated hearing from you. I would disagree adamantly on the supernatural claims. We start getting into Alex Jones' extra-dimensional beings and stuff like that when we start talking about that, and I, of course, don't buy any of it.
Yeah, let's have some evidence. Something.
I think that is a butchering of the use of the word dimensions in the scientific context. Where you do have string theory and things like that talking about 11 dimensions and things like that, but none of them talk about transcendent dimensions or any of this sort of nonsense. But you do have these people who are into spirit science and things like that who cling to string theory and its 11 dimensions, and they pervert the meaning into this sort of parallel universe, and they call that the dimension. So it has different meanings in entirely different contexts. But when you talk about natural phenomenon, when you talk about things that you experience here in the real world, and then you go, well, that's evidence of supernature, I have a bit of an issue. No, it's evidence of nature and some phenomenon that you can't explain.
Yet.
Yeah, yet. Yet is the key word there, because, once upon a time, we couldn't explain quite a lot, and we did attribute it to deities and the supernatural and things like that. We didn't know why it thunderstormed. It must be Zeus up there throwing down lightning bolts, right?
Right.
We know now that's not the case, but we didn't always know that. Now we look at things like the white light passing into his television or whatever, and we go, oh, well, it's extraterrestrial, when in fact there may be an entirely rational and scientific explanation that we just aren't fathoming. Well, this is a Call to Freedom. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be back in just a moment.
This is a special alert. for business owners, consultants, coaches, folks planning retirement, entrepreneurs, and anyone who is saving and investing to build a financial future. You are likely aware that financial privacy for most people has recently died a miserable death. And let's face it, without privacy, there really is no security, is there? Bankrupt governments and banks on the verge of collapse are perhaps the biggest threat to your financial future today. The Lighthouse Law Club recognizes this and has been working diligently to provide safe, secure, and productive tools to ensure your privacy, your financial security, and your future financial well-being, despite the catastrophes which many people fear are looming ahead of us. Find out more with a variety of free videos on the YouTube channel for Lighthouse Law Club. Just search YouTube for Lighthouse Law Club and secure your future today.
LRN.FM is proud to announce our official listening apps for Android and iOS devices. Now you can easily tune into our streams anywhere, anytime on your smartphone or tablet. Just visit apps.lrn.fm or search for LRN.FM in the Android or Apple app stores. Please download, rate us 5 stars, then share the link on your social media and let your friends and family know how you're listening to LRN.FM. Download it now, free at apps.lrn.fm.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up in any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BIPCOT no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com.
More of the Call to Freedom is coming up next, live after the news on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
This is the Liberty Beat, your daily source for Liberty news and activist updates. Produced in partnership with SNLS News and listeners like you. Online at libertybeat.news and snls.news. I'm Mick Murrow with your latest edition of the Liberty Beat. Gold is trading at $1,283. Silver at $14.96, and Bitcoin is trading around $5,147. Today's prices are brought to you by InnoScale. Take off with Managed Cloud. Looking for a safe, secure way to store your important files online? Let InnoScale handle it for you. Their high availability cloud servers are the perfect solution for clients needing one or more secure, scalable servers with built-in hardware failover protection. For details, see them online at innoscale.net. In the news, the Washington, D.C.-based Center for Economic Policy Research published a report last week on the effects of U.S. sanctions against Venezuela. Mint-Press News reports a 27-page paper was authored by economists Mark Weisbrot and Jeffrey Sachs, who determined that sanctions have inflicted various serious harm to human life in Venezuela. These sanctions are depriving Venezuelans of life-saving medicines, medical equipment, food, and other essential imports, according to a press release issued about the study. American sanctions are deliberately aiming to wreck Venezuela's economy and thereby lead to regime change, the press release states. Weisbrot and Sachs pointed out in the report that sanctions would fit the definition of collective punishment of the civilian population, as described in both the Geneva and Hague International Conventions, to which the U.S. is a signatory. Washington significantly escalated its unilateral coercive measures in August 2017, when the Venezuelan government and state oil company were cut off from financial markets. The Liberty Beat is sponsored in part by Brave Botanicals, high-quality kratom and CBD at reasonable prices, with excellent customer service. Brave Botanicals is activist-owned and mission-driven, fighting for your right to consume plant-based medicine and natural remedies. Find out more at mybravebotanicals.com. And right now, Liberty Beat listeners can save 10% by using promo code SNLS at checkout. This is the latest edition of the Liberty Beat. Find us online at libertybeat.news and snls.news. Your news now continues. In its crusade against fake news, Facebook has vowed to fight for impartiality. However, when it comes to fact-checking, it seems to rely on sources which have links to the U.S. government and renowned political meddlers. Activist Post reports that for more than 2 years, the social media giant has been seeking to convince the public that it does its best to take a stand against malicious disinformation spread through its network, and presented a whole bunch of instruments aimed at revealing and countering false narratives. Facebook proudly boasted that all the partners it cooperates were certified through what it calls the Nonpartisan International Fact-Checking Network. However, the social network's choice of people to trust with the power to decide what is true or false raises questions. Among the founders and financial backers is the Omidyar Network, a foundation run by the eBay founder and self-described progressive billionaire Pierre Omidyar. Due to his history and the history of other funders of Facebook's project, questions of impartiality remain. According to figures released by the Prisoners and Freed Prisoners Committee of the Palestine Liberation Organization Sunday, the State of Israel has imprisoned more than 50,000 children since the occupation of Palestine's West Bank began in 1967. According to Mint Press News, the PLO report also noted that around 17,000 of those child arrests had occurred since the year 2000. The report used the UN definition that states that a child is any person younger than 18 years of age. However, Israel's government has defined children younger than 16 as children, while applying the UN definition to Israeli children. The PLO report was made public as the head of the PLO Prisoner Committee gave testimony to the 5th European Union Conference in support of prisoners. In delivering his report, he noted that the rate of child imprisonment by the Israeli state had nearly doubled, averaging around 700 children imprisoned annually from 2000 to 2010, but rising to around 1,250 between 2011 and 2018. Support for the Liberty Beat comes from the Conscious Resistance Network, featuring videos, news reports, and articles from a spiritual anarchist perspective. Experience the Conscious Resistance at theconsciousresistance.com. How would you like to have your business featured on the Liberty Beat? You can. Just send an email to libertybeat@snls.news for details. This is the Liberty Beat, produced in partnership with SNLS News and listeners like you. The Liberty Beat is online at libertybeat.news and snls.news. I'm Mick Murrow, reporting for the Liberty Beat, reminding you, spread liberty with a smile.
Sources are confirming that a man currently on a very intense cell phone call has been walking down the same city block for the past 45 minutes, periodically shaking his head and speaking brusquely to the individual on the other line.
Please, just give me 1 second to make one point.
Onlookers speculate that the man is in his early 30s and is either talking to a coworker, boss, or possibly his wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, attorney, or some sort of client of some kind.
They say insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results.
Thus far, the man has walked by the same cafe over 10 times.
You know, when I was coming in, I heard him say, "You're just not listening. That's the problem." So, it sounds like a pretty frustrating phone call. He's running his hand through his hair again.
I cannot believe this. I literally cannot believe this.
In addition to poking the air when making a point, the frustrated man has also been observed repeatedly massaging his forehead. Thus far, it remains unclear where the man was headed before taking his call, or whether or not the call itself is making him late for something.
This is the Onion News Network.
Welcome back. This is The Call to Freedom. As always, I'm your host, Arya DeMesso, author of Dancing in Hellfire, which you can find on Amazon by searching for Dancing in Hellfire. I don't think it has a permanent URL. Anyway, as always, I'm joined in the studio by
Michael Hampton from BitcoinHistory.com.
And we're going to move on from we didn't actually get into the discussion of the U.S. Navy.
We only got partway through this. I wanted to find out, as I understand it, the Navy is going to start calling UFOs something else.
Yeah.
And the military is really good at one thing, coming up with acronyms. So I want to know what they're coming up with.
Instead of calling them UFOs now, they're calling them unexplained aerial phenomena, unidentified aircraft, unauthorized aircraft, and perhaps most intriguing, suspected incursions.
Okay, none of those are good acronyms.
Well, no. UAE, of course, no, that would be UAP.
UAP?
I mean, UFO isn't a particularly good acronym either. It just became popular, so we're just sort of used to it. I wouldn't say it's inherently better than UAP or UA. It's just we're more used to hearing it.
I don't know. UFO just kind of rolls off the tongue.
It does have sort of a nice ring to it. But apparently it was the Navy who came up with UFO in the first place.
They don't make acronyms like they used to.
So the earliest government programs dedicated to investigating UFO sightings in the late 1940s, interesting, treated the claims unsurprisingly as a big joke. As a rule, officials dismissed and debunked any reports as hoaxes and hallucinations, according to the book UFOs and Government, which I need to read.
Ooh, yeah, that was about back in the 50s, 40s and 50s.
What?
That book.
No, it was 2012.
Oh, okay.
So in some ways, the Navy's modern-day attempt to take seriously reports of UFO sightings is a rerun of what happened next. God, that is the worst way they could have phrased that. I want an open mind, Major General Charles Cabell, then the head of Air Force intelligence at the Pentagon, reportedly demanded at a meeting with subordinates in 1951. Anyone who doesn't keep an open mind can get out now. Ah, yes, here's... Somebody mentioned Project Blue Book on Twitch earlier, and I assumed it was a book about UFOs. It is not. It is a new secretive program dubbed Project Blue Book. It was quickly organized to investigate claims of strange visions in the sky without ridiculing them. Its director introduced the term UFO sometime around 1953. God, why would they use the word new to characterize that? It's not new. It's 50 years old, 60 years old.
Well, it was new then.
Yeah, but I don't think a writer should write in the past tense using present tense language.
Yeah, probably not.
The definition carried no hint of extraterrestrial life. In a national security official's scariest daydreams, the objects were probably Russian spycraft. For the military, a UFO was simply any airborne object which by performance, aerodynamic characteristics, or unusual features does not conform to any presently known aircraft or missile type, or which cannot be identified positively as a familiar object. That's pretty vague, but that's a pretty good definition of UFO. By then, there had already been several high-profile reports of objects flying through or falling from the sky. For the public, these sightings didn't just seem unfamiliar, they seemed not of this world. A civilian pilot had seen 9 somethings flying in formation near Mount Rainier in Washington state. And I'm pulling this up right now. He apparently was named Kenneth Arnold. And sorry about that, I got bombarded by one of those stupid, will you click agree to actually look at the content that you clearly agreed to look at?
After you scrolled down half a page.
Yeah. So a rancher found mysterious wreckage on his property outside Roswell, New Mexico. I like the Futurama take on that best. Multiple people spotted a series of lights hovering over Washington, D.C. and moving toward the White House. The military even mobilized jets to intercept them, but found nothing. There was also the thing from Texas a few years ago, where there was this supposedly huge ship flying across the sky that I think hundreds of people saw, but no one whipped out their cell phone to take a picture or a video.
Yeah. How long ago was that?
It was like 2011, maybe earlier, maybe 2009.
I guess enough people would have had phones with cameras that somebody should have, but maybe not.
The idea that many people could see something like that happen and nobody take a picture causes me to instantly dismiss the claim. There have also been, curiously enough, mass hallucinations of people seeing the Virgin Mary in the sky and things like that, especially in South American countries. That seems to be particularly common.
Well, these days you better take a picture on your phone because,
I mean, even that wouldn't be enough to convince me because it's so easy to Photoshop things now.
Well, if 100 different people take 100 different pictures of the same thing, then maybe we'll believe it.
I'm not sure I would believe it. I would not disbelieve it out of hand. I'm a skeptic at heart, though, so I'm what a lot of people would characterize as agnostic, except agnosticism actually deals with knowledge rather than belief. But that part aside, I tend to not take any position one way or the other on things like this. I don't know. Extraterrestrials might exist. They might not exist. I tend to believe they probably do exist, though. Whether or not they have visited Earth is a different question.
They probably do exist, and they probably lock their doors and travel past our solar system as fast as they can.
I tend to lean heavily toward no in regard to extraterrestrials visiting Earth. They might be doing it, not saying they're not, but there might also be a flying spaghetti monster. I'm not saying there isn't. Actually, yeah, I will say there is not a flying spaghetti monster, but that's because that whole thing is a joke in the first place. Let's not get into it. Technically, sure, one could exist somewhere in the universe.
Oh, you've done it now. The Pastafarians are going to call in.
Good. I hope so, because I want to chew out a Pastafarian anyway for taking this joke way too far. So these pilots, a civilian pilot, for some reason, interestingly, I'm not as inclined to take a civilian pilot as seriously as I am a Navy or Air Force pilot.
Why not?
I don't know. I just became aware of that own bias within myself as I was, saying that. But yeah, I see a civilian pilot claiming to have seen 9 things flying in formation. I'm like, okay, cool. But
the military pilot sees it. No. Oh, maybe there's something there.
Well, because the military pilot has to report it, and his career is on the line if he gets caught saying something stupid, or if he gets caught just making things up, versus the civilian pilot whose career is more than likely not on the line for getting out there saying, oh, I saw a UFO.
He could get court-martialed, too.
Yeah, that's what they were talking about here, is that, there was a lot of pressure from the top to not talk about this, and that included court-martialing, I suppose, for if they made it up, it could, yeah.
So if a civilian pilot, makes it up, then it's just a civilian making things up. If it's a military pilot making things up, then he's up there, presumably in a military plane, wearing a military uniform, getting paid on military time. And if he's making up stories on military time, the military's liable to come back at him with some pretty serious stuff.
That's a good point.
Yeah, they may try to shut him up, too. If he actually did see something, that gets a little more difficult. So
yeah, that's more or less what we've been discussing here, is the U.S. Navy's new practice going forward of not calling these things UFOs, calling them instead suspected incursions and unidentified aerial phenomenon and things like that, trying to move away from the word UFO because of all of the baggage attached to it. But that pilots out there are seeing things that they can't identify seems to be...
They're unidentified, right?
Yeah, it seems to be a certain fact. In as much as anything is a certain fact anyway. So we're going to get back into this, and the infiltration that may or may not be happening. It depends on who you listen to. I tend to think it's probably not happening. This is the Call to Freedom. Don't go anywhere.
Are you a cryptocurrency advocate? The Crypto Tip is the ideal outreach tool to help new people discover cryptocurrency. It's a printable business card-sized tip that you can give to service providers, preferably in addition to a good cash tip. When the server scans the QR code, it'll bring up an explanation of cryptocurrency, how to install a wallet, and allow them to claim the tip. If they don't claim the crypto, you get your tip refunded to you after a time period you specify. Plus, if they do claim the tip, you get an email alert. Create as many tips as you want at cryptotip.org. That's cryptotip.org.
Since time began, tyrants have taken aim at personal liberties. Now there's a movie that aims back.
The government has no more right to tell us what to put in our bodies than they have to take our guns or tell us what books we can read.
6 drug police were eaten by bears while raiding a marijuana farm.
On your knees, you dirty hippies! Jesus. On your knees! What's the problem, officer?
Today, many cops who enforce pot laws do so only because it provides them with cushy jobs, good benefits, and a chance to push people around.
I was an undercover narcotics officer. The drug war is nothing but a farce.
The Second Amendment says you gotta keep you and your gat intact.
Guns and Weed, The Road to Freedom. A film by Michael W. Dean and Nima Vadadi.
DVD available now at gunsandweed.com or on Amazon. That's gunsandweed.com. Makes the perfect gift. Remember, that's gunsandweed.com.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and one with just the Edgington Post. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
Did you know you can legally exit the U.S. federal income tax system? Well, it's true, and thousands of American nationals are doing it. The 16th Amendment and the Internal Revenue Code are legal, but only in a limited jurisdiction. This is the basis behind the voluntary nature of the income tax. Learn the exit strategy provided by Congress. Find out more by visiting weissparis.com and watch our numerous videos. That's WEISS
LRN.FM now has a Discord. Discord is a free text and voice chat platform, and we now have our own server with a bunch of channels at discord.lrn.fm. You can join other listeners as they chat about various things during our live shows, or anytime, day or night. Discord software is available cross-platform, so you can have it on whatever device you want and take your chats anywhere. Join our Discord at discord.lrn.fm. That's discord.lrn.fm.
A congressman recently revealed that legislation totaling 2,900 pages and involving more than $1 trillion was available to members of Congress for less than 48 hours to study and consider. That's over 60 pages of legislation per hour. Do you think anyone read the entire bill? I'm Jim Babka with DownsizeDC.org. Consider a proposal buried in a 3,200-page, $388 billion bill, which would have empowered committee chairmen or their agents to examine Americans' tax returns. When this horrible provision came to light, no one claimed to know how it got into the bill. One congressman questioned said, "I didn't write it, I didn't approve it, I wasn't even consulted." If your attorney represented you this way, he might be disbarred. But this is how Congress represents you every day. That's why DownsizeDC.org has created the Read the Bills Act. You can force Congress to read their bills before they pass them at DownsizeDC.org.
Now you can follow LRN.FM on the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. Oh,
Welcome back. This is the Call to Freedom here on LRN.FM. Of course, you're invited to give us a call at 603-283-6160. Again, that's 603-283-6160. Or if you prefer clearer quality, like we had with Kicks for Guns earlier, you can use the Discord call-in lines, which you can find at discord.lrn.fm. Now, this entire subject of UFO sightings, if you start clicking the links, it gets into some pretty deep territory, making me wonder, how deeply this rabbit hole actually goes. And that in itself is a bit of a problem, obviously, because there is so much false information being put forward by people who I'm inclined to assume are well-intentioned and are not being deliberately deceitful.
Some are well-intentioned, some just want to sell you something.
Yeah, and some are just wrong, It's okay to be wrong, obviously, but if you're out there making YouTube videos about how you totally saw this thing that you did not see, I'm going to take issue with that simply because you're adding misinformation into a subject that is not particularly clear or simple in the first place. And I tend to not support that kind of thing.
Yeah, if you're making it up, do the world a favor and take that stuff down because you're not helping.
But there's not just people out there consciously making this stuff up. There's people out there who actually believe what they're seeing or what they believe that they're seeing. There are people who believe that what they are interpreting as... Okay, how am I trying to phrase
somebody
this?
Saw something, they came up with an interpretation in their own mind, and they believe what they think happened.
Yes.
Right. This has happened to me. One time when I was driving home, from the studio, so 10:30, somewhere there, I'm heading down Route 12 in, southwestern New Hampshire, and I see eyes, right? What do they call that? The glare off of their eyes.
Yeah, the reflection.
Now,
whatever.
as I understand it, primates tend not to have the glare off their eyes. So it's a good question. This seemed very widely spaced glare, and it was on a sort of cliff top where it looked like it was frigging 8 feet tall. I don't know what else to call it. It didn't look like an owl. It looked like it had this gigantic monkey shape, behind it. But
could have been like a bear.
It could have been anything. I wouldn't propose to know what it was. But I happen to like the Sasquatch stories, and I've decided that's what I saw just for fun. Now, I wouldn't propose to tell you anything more, right? Like I didn't see, Harry walking across the thing didn't move from what I could tell. I had eye shine, and then I didn't have eye shine, and the shape still looked like it was there as I went past, and I've never seen anything before or since.
And you're saying it's a Sasquatch, but you're not saying that seriously. You're saying it as a joke.
I'm saying it that I would love the notion that what I saw was a Sasquatch, and the sightings of Sasquatch in southwest New Hampshire are minimal.
Have you talked to Matt Roach?
No, but he probably likes them as much as I do. I haven't even seen
even more. He goes out and hunts them.
Well, the original Bigfoot has been definitively proven to have been a hoax. Like the guy who wore the costume has come out and said, I wore that costume as a hoax.
But there's also on the other side, there are, I can't remember what the name of the creature was that existed in sort of the Tibet region, was a giant primate, existed. I mean, we know that this creature walked the earth.
Interesting.
But we don't know that one still exists. Well, we're finding things all the time. Most of them are in the ocean.
Right.
We tend not to find these things in the land, but there's lots of stories, and many of those go back to, Indians and, Native Americans, whatever term we want to use for them. So,
I'm certainly open to the possibility that there's a lot happening here on Earth that we aren't aware of.
Right. I like the notion of a North American primate. I do not consider there to be enough information out there to definitively say that this exists. Just like it.
Right.
Right.
That's sort of how I am, I would say. I just haven't given much consideration to the possibility of one of these North American primates.
Right.
So, one could exist, sure, and it would be neat for something like that to exist, or something like the New Jersey Devil to exist.
Yeah. I suspect the New Jersey Devil was a large owl.
Really?
I mean, really, the stories that surround the New Jersey Devil sound a lot like an owl.
I'm not familiar enough with it any longer. Like when I was younger, I read these kinds of things extensively, but not so much as an adult.
I've only heard about the Jersey Devil, but I'm not really sure what it is or what it was supposed to be.
It's a large flying creature with horns. A great horned owl.
Yeah.
Looks a lot like a large creature with horns. And
I think by definition, it is a large creature with horns.
Well, those are feathers, but its name, it's right there, though. It's also actually there's some suppositions out there that great horned owls have killed humans.
Wow.
That they oftentimes, if somebody's wearing like a feathered hat, there's instances that the speculation that great horned owls. There's actually some story out of New York City where a great horned owl may have come down and broke a woman's neck, trying to get her hat, and then some guy went to prison over it because there's a dead person. We don't know exactly what happened here, but this woman's all messed up. So can this happen? Sure.
Somebody went to prison for something an owl did.
This is a story that I seen on one of these documentaries.
I wouldn't be terribly surprised, right?
People go to prison for murders they didn't commit.
Right.
When you have a dead person, they want somebody to go to prison. So they try to find somebody, and they match them as closely as they can to the story. I suspect the farther in the past you go and the more rudimentary their forensic science is, that the more likely somebody is to go to prison for something they didn't do. So could a great horned owl, come down with its claws extended and put a big gash marks in somebody's head and in the process break their neck? If you think about a woman being, I'm 200 pounds, if you think of a woman being 100 pounds, her neck's going to necessarily be half as well supported. Maybe she's a little infirm or whatever. She's not expecting it. And then, pow, this thing that's like 25 pounds comes down, and I don't know how much they weigh, but, heavy. And certainly...
Well, heavy enough that you won't want to have one smack into your head.
Right.
Right.
It's going to feel like maybe not a baseball bat, but something real heavy just hit you.
Yeah. Not to mention its talons and all of that fun stuff.
And if your neck doesn't break, maybe it does when it hits the pavement if you land wrong.
Yeah. That's unfortunate. I hope that nobody actually did time for that. But speaking on the subject of things that people believe in kooky ways, one of the girls I dated in high school was convinced that fairies were real, and that if you misplaced something and couldn't find it later, it was because the fairies had taken it and either moved it for their own amusement or just stolen it outright. I also had an adult friend a number of years ago who swore that she saw a dragon, an actual dragon, sitting on top of a neighbor's house.
An actual dragon.
Yes, and she was not telling me this to try to convince me she was crazy, right?
No.
She was telling me this because she genuinely believed it.
My dad genuinely believed he saw a UFO, like a spaceship, a flying saucer, not just something unidentified, a flying saucer, and described the whole thing to me. And I'm going to call my dad a liar.
Yeah, my dad swears he saw one coming out of the pond across from the street from where I grew up, but my dad is a liar. Compulsively. To this day, he still insists that he fought in Vietnam when he can't possibly have been old enough to. This is the Call to Freedom. Don't go anywhere.
Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, do this right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it. And once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world. So I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here. And I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com.
Did you know that Free Aid is a mutual aid, educational, and networking organization? At Free Aid, we support volunteers who provide first aid. We do outreach to the public about health and safety, and we bring together medically skilled freedom lovers. Free Aid is made possible by your generous support. Donors can receive great gifts like first aid kits, t-shirts, silver dime cards, and hoodies. The Free Aid Silver Dime Card Project is sponsored in part by Roberts & Roberts Brokerage, Freedom's Phoenix, and Don't Tread on Meme. Visit fr33aid.com.
Hey, I'm LRN.FM Program Director Ian Freeman. If you're listening to our free-to-air satellite feed in North or Central America, heads up. We've been on the Galaxy 19 satellite since 2010, but now our satellite provider is moving LRN.FM to a new channel on a different transponder. The current channel will stay on the air until the end of May to give you time to transition without any loss of service, so don't delay. I've posted the new channel details at sat.lrn.fm, but in case you're listening with no internet access, if you do a blind scan on your receiver, you should see the new channel at transponder 6, 11.8425 gigahertz, horizontal polarization, symbol rate 22,000, FEC 3/4. All that information is at sat.lrn.fm, as well as a link to our Patreon, where you can support our channels for just $2 a month. Visit sat.lrn.fm for more information about our international satellite channels, and thanks for listening to LRN.fm. The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people like passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com.
This is the Liberty Radio Network, broadcasting the latest liberty-oriented audio content 24 hours a day at LRN.FM.
Welcome back. This is The Call to Freedom, broadcast as always from the Liberty Radio studio here in King, New Hampshire. And we've been talking about UFOs, UFO sightings, and things like that. One of the D-Live, of course, is going nuts on the subject. Nuts in a good way, for once. Asking the anthropic principles problem, basically, is that, it seems to be extremely unlikely that life would have developed on other planets, or life as we know it, I will put it that way, will have developed on other planets because it requires both relative warmth. I mean, compared to the rest of the universe, Earth is extremely warm. Most planets are not going to be this close to the sun. And it had to have liquid water, which is also extremely rare. So it could very well have happened. The issue there isn't so much of, it's just so unlikely. It really doesn't matter how unlikely it is, because there are hundreds of billions of planets just in our galaxy. And there's hundreds of billions of galaxies just in the observable universe. So whatever hundreds of billions times hundreds of billions, no, liquid water is rare, is what I said. H2O as a compound is relatively common. I think the Eagle Nebula is full of it.
Yeah, but usually it's ice or it's gas or whatever.
Yeah. I think it primarily takes the form of gas, or I guess, it could be probably split more evenly because of asteroids and things like that contain frozen water.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway.
It sublimates off a comet, whatever.
Yeah. There's the possibility that like Europa has liquid water underneath the surface, and I'm really excited to see the probe that we're going to send into that. I think Io is another that is a highly likely candidate to have liquid water beneath its frozen surface, largely because of the tides of Jupiter and Saturn and their, ability to affect things inside, to rub against one another, cause friction, to melt the water, and all of that kind of stuff. So I'm hoping that we will find that one of these moons has liquid water on it, because I think that, where we find liquid water, I think we will find life that we recognize readily as life.
Yeah.
It won't be as advanced. I think the relative heat here on Earth has certainly made it more conducive. I think we're more likely to find more primitive forms of life, bacteria and things like that, than we are to find some space dolphin or some space crab or some space insect.
Probably single-celled life and things along those lines all over the universe.
Oh, certainly. I think Titan is also a really good candidate because it's got an atmosphere, it's got weather changes, it's got all of that. It's got mountain ranges, rain, all of that good stuff that, we expect here on Earth. The difference would be that theirs is methane and ours is water. Methane, of course, is also a decent solvent. Not as good as water, but it is a decent solvent. So we're very likely, I think, to find ultimately that there is some kind of life on Titan. Plus,
methane-based life?
I think it would be silicon-based life. I mean, we're not water-based life. We're carbon-based.
Okay.
So, I mean, there's some weirdness going on. I'm not a biologist. I'm not going to try to answer biology questions. But I think the going consensus is that it's likely to be silicon-based if there is life out there. Apparently, doing the calculations reveals that Europa almost certainly has liquid water. So that's fascinating. I have not actually looked into that. But yeah, you certainly could calculate that based on but I don't have any desire to, really. That was one of the reasons I stopped majoring in physics, or general relativity, to be precise, because you would have to do gravitational equations and things like that. But yes, Titan is going to be, I think, very promising in the long run. I think we're actually going to land a probe on Titan within the next decade or two, which seems like a really long time. And it is a really long time. I would like the answer today, right?
Yeah, wouldn't we all?
Yeah, but for some reason, we just can't have it. That's what I was about to say. There is some element that should dissipate from Titan's atmosphere over time. I don't remember exactly what that element is, but that it keeps getting replenished. It means that there is almost certainly some sort of organic thing happening there, because apparently that particular molecule is produced by organic life forms. I wish I could remember all of this off the top of my head. I say I'm really good at remembering things, and I am, and I remember that there is some molecule in the Titan atmosphere that shouldn't technically be there unless it's being renewed by some type of organic life. But that's all of the specifics I remember.
Don't worry. 6 of our chatters have gone to Wikipedia to find out what it is. And
I hope so.
We'll see who's the first to come back with it.
Yeah. Yeah. There's your job, people on DLive and Twitch. Go find out what I'm talking about. And of course, there's a question of encountering a sentient species. Like Razorboy has asked, if our viruses or bacteria harm them, what if they take that as an attack against them? Well, it certainly could. I mean, we certainly know from experience here in the United States, here in America, that viruses and bacteria to which we're immune will wreak absolute havoc on another population.
Yeah.
So, but the odds that a virus that infects humans is also going to affect this extraterrestrial life, I would say, is extremely unlikely, because
it's low. I mean,
their cellular makeup and cellular reproduction apparatus has to be very similar to Earthlings.
Yeah, you have viruses that cross species, but generally only a limited number of them can actually host the virus.
Yeah. So I don't know, but
so it's probably unlikely.
It very well could happen. Or our bacteria enters their body, and rather than taking over their cells and causing the virus to reproduce and things like that, it mutates.
It mutates, or it just has no way to interact and does nothing.
All of these things are things that, our quote-unquote top scientists are in fact considering. We did not send a probe to Mars that was caked in human bacteria. No, it was 100% sterilized before we sent it there, because if there was some sort of life form, we didn't want Earthling bacteria killing it or affecting our results, which was a previous probe, and I don't remember exactly what the name of that probe was, but it happened earlier, and there's actually a book about it called We Are Not Alone that basically analyzes the findings and things like that. And one after the other, NASA has this checklist of things that if we find this, we're going to say is life. If we find this, we're going to say is life. And then they found every single one of those things and said, well, we're not going to definitively say that there is life on Mars. But they did. They just didn't openly say it. Reading that book makes it inescapably clear that we did, in fact, find some sort of bacterial or microbial, rather, life on the planet Mars. And that, of course, it wasn't going to be definitive. It was never going to be definitive. And that's the sentiment I got after reading the book was, how could they possibly have ever sent a probe to Mars unless they got the actual bacteria to come back? How would they ever have definitively said, okay, yes, we found life? And even then,
they'd have to bring back a sample or send another probe that could analyze the sample on site.
Well, even then, they did bring back some of the bacteria, but they said the results were possibly contaminated by what happened here on Earth, by bringing it in to study it or whatever, however it was they did it. I don't remember the details now. Again, sorry, I read the book a number of years ago, but I seem to recall they did bring back some sort of sample from it, or the soil sample or something like that, and they tested it, and they said, oh, yeah, this bacterial, there has been bacteria on this particular sample. But it could very well be that it got contaminated by earth bacteria at some point and we just don't know about it. So that's sort of where we stand in regard to life on other planets. I think it almost certainly exists. I think that it's probably not sentient. And again, sentience or sapient, they are not the end goals of evolution. We only evolved this intelligence because we served that particular niche in the environment. There's no reason whatsoever to believe that life would evolve for billions of years and suddenly would have intelligent life. It just depends on what that ecosystem allows for and sort of needs. And this is the call to freedom.
There are basically two types of advertising: direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Because we are smothering in spam, please do not reply to all when you can instead reply. I was recently among over 100 invited to a corporate reunion. It's always a warm affair, and that's the problem. Enthusiasm for our upcoming get-together caused many recipients to RSVP the organizer with a cheery reply to all. I can't wait. Then others piled on with a reply to all to that. Then the "I'm out of my office now" autoresponders joined in. So I replied to all, asking that we all reply only to the organizer. Hey, at least I tried. One invitee, apparently retired, shot back, "Point taken, but I really like seeing the responses since they're so positive." Smiley face. This better be an open bar. From survivalspeech.com, I'm Holland Cook.
Imagine someone in your community getting in their car, turning on the radio, and hearing the Liberty Radio Network. You can make that vision a reality with your own micro radio station. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how you can put our programs on the air in your area. You can have LRN.FM running around the clock, and you can even add in your own local shows. Building a radio station is simple, but programming isn't. That's where LRN.FM comes in. Learn more at broadcast.lrn.fm. That's broadcast.lrn.fm.
What do you shop for that you could otherwise buy at Amazon? Pretty much everything, right? Amazon has competitive pricing and they deliver, and that's a big plus. If you could plan ahead in your shopping, would you be interested in saving up to 33%? There's a catch. You have to do your shopping in Bitcoin. But imagine those savings. It's like a huge raise. All you have to do is go to saveitpurse.com. We've saved thousands, and you can too. Plan ahead and save. Saveitpurse.com. Did you know we've taken our LRN.FM telephone listen line to a new level with the LRN.FM audio on demand line? Now you can call 712-770-8447 anytime and listen to LRN.FM's live feed. And you can listen to a bunch of our original shows on demand. Long distance fees may apply. Just dial 712-770-8447 and choose from the menu. 712-770-8447.
Would you like to hang out with Penn Jillette? He's keynoting Freedom Fest this year. I, for one, am thrilled. Freedom Fest is the largest liberty-oriented gathering in the world. They take a Big Ten approach with libertarians, conservatives, liberals, anarchists, and just open-minded people mingling together to hear real debates, share real solutions, and converse freely. This year's theme is the Wild West, a time of liberty and opportunity, or a time of anarchy and violence. Maybe both. Go to freedomfest.com/FTL and get your tickets now. freedomfest.com/FTL. Not convinced yet? Hey, I understand. It's a high-end event, even with coupon code FTLEB. Sure, you're likely to receive investment advice that'll make that sum seem paltry, but I have something special for you. Go to freedomfest.com/FTL and you'll get the 5 best speeches from last year for free. Call it a test drive. Do yourself a favor and go to freedomfest.com/FTL. freedomfest.com/FTL. Use coupon code FTLEB for a discount.
You can sign up to receive the latest about the Liberty Radio Network via our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. That's updates.lrn.fm.
Hey there, welcome back. Maybe you listen regularly to the show and have been wondering how you can help and show your support. Well, social media shares certainly go a long way, but so does cash. And you can do that using Patreon at patreon.com/call-to-freedom. Our wonderful sponsors there are currently helping to keep the show up and running, including the podcast at calltofreedomlive.podbean.com. And we can't thank them enough for their efforts. Once more, that's patreon.com/call-to-freedom if you would like to check it out. Speaking of the podcast, though, it is now available on Spotify, Google Play Music, and iTunes. So I'm not aware of any other platforms we should really be trying to push it to.
You've got everything there. I mean, that's if you can't find our podcast, it's because you're not looking.
Yeah, definitely. Well, there is part of the issue, and there is part of an issue in that the call to freedom still exists in a lot of these places.
The old one.
Yes. We are call to freedom now.
Can we get rid of that or deprecate it or?
I don't know. We can't. Daryl, who previously did the podcast, may be able to, but we can't. We don't have access to those accounts. He did request that it be deleted from Spotify, and as far as I know, that did happen.
Yeah. The only one I find on Spotify is ours now.
Perfect. But hopefully we will get that resolved. So if you come across them and you see both the Call to Freedom and Call to Freedom, honestly, right now it's kind of hit and miss. Sometimes I have to use the. Sometimes I don't.
Yeah.
So
we'll make it consistent eventually.
Well, I don't think it's really that big a deal. You know, they see the icon there, they know it's us. And then if they click the wrong one, they see, oh, this hasn't happened episode updated since January.
Yeah, if you see that, you're on the wrong one.
Yeah, go and click the other one. Or you can just follow them directly at calltofreedomlive.podbean.com.
That's the best direct way.
Absolutely.
Throw that in your podcatcher and be done with it.
But this isn't new. We've been talking about UFOs, and these UFO sightings are not new. Some believed that a 1948 sighting in July revealed the presence of secret Soviet spycraft in American airspace. But two pilots saw a UFO, and the Air Force destroyed the report.
Ooh.
Coming to us from History.com, which probably has exactly as much history as the History Channel.
It's the same organization.
Yeah. Says that whatever occurred at 2:45 a.m. on the morning of July the 24th, 1948, in the skies over southwest Alabama, not only shocked and stymied the witnesses. That is not a complete sentence. It jolted the U.S. government into a top-secret investigation, the results of which were ultimately destroyed. The skies were, we don't need you to set the stage like that. One of the many things happened. It was a routine domestic flight. Until it wasn't. What the two pilots and their wide-awake passengers saw in the skies about 20 miles southwest of Montgomery did more than startle them. It would reportedly become the catalyst for a highly classified Air Force document suggesting that some unidentified objects were spaceships from other worlds.
Ooh, wow.
A tipping point in UFO history.
No.
Chiles described what he saw in an official statement about a week later. God, that is the absolute worst way they could have worded that. It was clear that there were no wings present, that it was powered by some jet or other type of power, shooting flame from the rear some 50 feet. There were two rows of windows, which indicated an upper and lower deck, and from inside these windows, a very bright light was glowing. Underneath the ship, there was a blue glow of light. Interesting. He estimated that he watched the ship for about 10 seconds before it disappeared into some light clouds and was lost. Another guy offered a similar description that I'm not going to bother to go into because it's a little bit redundant. The passenger, who was wide awake at the time, corroborated the pilot's account that an unusually bright object had streaked past his window. I don't recall the pilot saying anything about it streaking past their window.
Yeah, that doesn't seem to be what they said.
And he draws a picture here of what is almost certainly a blimp. That looks like a blimp. I mean, it looks exactly like a blimp. Could be a missile.
Yeah, could be a blimp.
But it looks like a blimp. I guess it also technically looks just like a missile, and it's behaving the way you would expect a missile to behave.
That actually does look like a. It could be if it was flying rather than just sitting there. Then yeah, it could be a missile. But that really does look like a blimp.
It does. But blimps don't shoot fire out of their back ends.
It could have been like an experimental jet-powered blimp.
Unless they go all Hindenburg.
Yeah, that was kind of an exception.
Yeah. That's generally the only way that blimps expel fire.
You really don't. Someone could have been experimenting with a jet-powered blimp. That's all I can think of.
They certainly could have. But both pilots also made drawings of the craft that they believe they saw and provided further details. I want to see their drawings and compare them, because that to me is fascinating. You know, if you have two people there and you ask them independently, okay, well, can you draw this thing that you say you saw?
Mm-hmm.
If they both give you back the same drawing, artistic ability aside, relatively the same drawing, then you can be relatively sure that either they worked out an extensive amount of detail to their story beforehand, or that they actually saw what they're trying to say they did.
Yeah, they only had that one drawing in that article that I could see.
So apparently Boeing denied that it was their plane, all of that. Who cares? I don't know. Hey, Boeing, we saw a thing. Is it yours? That seems to me a little silly. There were scores of reported UFO sightings in the years just prior. Of course, a lot of that came from World War II. Oh, they did draw so one of the pilots' drawings right here is very, very similar to the other one. I would say that they probably saw this thing that looks very much like a missile.
Yeah, that does look very similar.
Yeah.
And yeah, it looks less like a blimp now.
Yeah, it does, because it's not as pointed toward the back end. It looks more like a missile.
And if you've got little windows inside it, like right there, it couldn't be a blimp, because that's where the helium goes, or the hydro, whatever you fill it with.
Well, yeah, a blimp would have a little basket hanging underneath. I say basket, obviously. You know, it would be some type of platform underneath that people could chill on. They wouldn't be in the part with the helium.
And this looks like they would be inside it. So yeah, it's some kind of.
Well, they say they were windows and that there was a bright light coming from them. Who knows? You know, they did all evidently corroborate this story, and they did all draw apparently about the same thing. It doesn't show the third pilot's drawing, and that's unfortunate.
No, 2 is enough to get kind of the idea that, yeah, looks like they saw something that was very similar.
So the U.S. Air Force began Operation Sign in 1948. Among the initial theories of the project's participants were that the UFOs were actually types of sophisticated Soviet aircraft, although there was also the hypothesis that they might be extraterrestrial spacecraft. Regarding the June 1947 sighting over Mount Rainier, Air Force investigators deemed both Arnold and the prospector to be credible eyewitnesses, but concluded that what they had seen was a mirage, not actual flying ships. Interesting. Okay. It was succeeded in 1949 by Project Grudge, which in 1952 became Project Blue Book, the longest running of the U.S. government's official inquiries into UFOs. It compiled reports of more than 12,000 UFO sightings or related events from 1952 to 1969. Of course, more than 90% of these were classified as identified, meaning they were caused by a known astronomical, atmospheric, or artificial phenomenon. The remaining number, approximately 6%, were unidentified and included cases where there was insufficient information to assign the event a known cause. So the Air Force looked into a lot of these quote-unquote UFO sightings, and they, in fact, identified some 90% of them. 6% remain unidentified, which is actually higher than the ratio I would have expected.
Yeah.
I would have expected it to be more like 1 or 2%. So that's interesting.
They seem to have done pretty well for themselves.
In 1969, the Condon Report on the results of a 2-year study collected by Project Blue Book found that the project was not scientifically useful, and the Air Force shut it down. By then, however, the government's official investigation of UFO sightings had inspired an increasing number of movies and other forms of pop culture, obviously, like The Day the Earth Stood Still and The War of the Worlds. They undoubtedly reflected the Americans' involvement and perspective about the Cold War and fear of Soviet invasion and things like that, according to this article, which I don't think is exactly going to be the case. I think they were just fascinated with the possibility of life on other planets. Well, this has been The Call to Freedom. Thanks for watching. Don't go anywhere, though, because Free Talk Live is coming up next.
Don't you hate that feeling in the pit of your stomach when the police pull you over? Most people have no idea how to handle it properly, and they promptly get fed